In this new timeline, he jolts awake inside a psychiatric ward, looking like a man who just binge-watched the end of the universe in his sleep. The medical staff have slapped him with a label, a 24-year-old patient suffering from dissociative identity disorder, their clinical way of saying the warning bells in his skull are just a critical system error. Every warning he gives about the world-ending update falls on deaf ears. They're all certain his brain is just running a particularly glitchy program. He's been nerfed, stripped of his legendary gear, and stuffed into a flimsy hospital gown that's a certified crime against fashion. But the instant his mother walks into that room, his entire world grinds to a halt. In the last timeline, she was a ghost in a machine kept alive by wires, but seeing her here alive and complaining about his bedhead, that's the ultimate victory. He wraps her in a hug so fiercely that she just stares at him completely bewildered like a dog trying to comprehend a card trick. Utterly convinced his sanity has officially blue-screened, his chart now claims he's incapable of judging his own situation. The irony is thick enough to choke on, considering he's the one man on the planet who knows humanity's free trial on existence is about to expire. He snatches his phone and sees the timer 34 minutes on the dot until 6 p.m., when Prison Day logs on to wipe the entire server. He immediately speedruns a starter guide for his mom, frantically scrawling down every cheat code for the tutorial so she doesn't get one-shotted. As his pen flies, a memory surfaces of how she raised him all on her own after his father liquidated their life savings and vanished. Mid-scribble, his best friend walks in, the same guy who used to be his personal anti-bully task force, holding a bag of oranges and a smile our hero hasn't seen in an eternity. This is the friend who got brutally deleted in the last timeline, and right now he just thinks our boy is writing some wild fanfiction. Our protagonist doesn't waste a breath trying to explain. He just shoves the notes into his friend's hands and tells him to learn it like his life depends on it, because it does. He soaks in these last few seconds of peace, gazing at a photo of the two most important people in his life as the countdown nears zero. At precisely 6 p.m., a Crimson System window hijacks reality itself, announcing that the first players have been summoned. Our hero looks at the pop-up and readies himself to completely dismantle the celestial overlords who think humanity is their own personal reality show. He's officially back on the clock, getting dropped directly into the game world as the system unleashes a full-scale assault to scrub his memories. The program tries to overwrite his past with the pre-packaged lore of the Slaughter Company, but it smacks into a mental firewall made of pure willpower. The memory wipe fails so spectacularly and so many times that the system basically rage quits the brainwashing attempt and just starts loading the first boss. He scans his surroundings and sees that this beginner stage masquerading as a boring office is actually a lethal psychological minefield. It's a setup designed to gaslight rookies into thinking nothing has changed. Fortunately, his brain didn't get formatted, so he sees right through the corporate facade into the hellscape lurking beneath. To beat this 9-to-5 nightmare, he has to take out 3 bosses on an escalating difficulty scale, which is a death sentence for any other level 0 player. He pulls up his status window and is greeted by a whole lot of nothing. 0 EXP, all skills grayed out, and a sad list of base stats. His character sheet looks less like a veteran warrior's and more like an unpaid intern's first day on the job. The only thing out of place is an unreadable blessing with an unknown effect, the likely cheat code that's preserving his memories of the future. Since he can't exactly fight a raid boss with a paper gown and a grim attitude, he decides to go after a secret quest he remembers from his last playthrough. He's got about 10 minutes before the clock hits 11, and the real bloodbath begins, so he makes a beeline for some very specific coordinates. They lead him to the most majestic of locations, the men's restroom. He kicks a stall door clean off its hinges and finds a small, urban legend-type monster, known as the Scary Cat, perched on a loot chest. Unimpressed by the spooky ambiance, our hero just stares the creature down with the dead-eyed gaze of a man who is fresh out of patience. He tells the thing to make itself scarce before he twists its head off. The cat immediately understands our boy is not the one to be trifled with, and vanishes so fast it leaves a cartoon-shaped puff of smoke. The system tries to gatekeep the loot, flashing a notification that the chest requires a key. But our hero is a man of action who doesn't have time for a fetch quest. He simply treats the locked box like a stubborn piece of luggage and stomps it into 1,000 splinters. Inside the wreckage, he finds 3 E-rank attribute cards for stamina, agility, and pure strength. He absorbs them on the spot, and while a level 1 buff sounds like nothing, it's more than enough to change the game. He instantly goes from being a helpless patient to a player with an actual stat sheet. He confirms his new power by casually punching a clean hole straight through a solid wall. He realizes that even this minuscule stat increase, when paired with 20 years of combat experience, is going to make this opening stage an absolute joke. But despite the easy start, our hero knows he needs to collect every scrap of power he can if he's going to permanently uninstall the gods from existence. He turns his focus inward and calls out to the voices in his head. Voices that have been living rent-free in his skull since he was a kid, demanding to know if they're the ones who juiced him up with this insane new power. In a flash, he's yanked into an abyss of pure blackness. where a colossal, shadowy figure confesses it's been spectating his entire life. The entity tells him he has to prove he's actually built different before it gives him any real power, then yeets him right back into the office as the final timer starts ticking down. A system alert flashes the boss is entering the field, and anyone who ditches their desk gets an automatic L, forcing our guy to log in for what's about to be the most lethal 9 to 5 in history. Our hero is now absolutely barreling down the hallways like he's about to miss the last train out of hell. He's pushing his fresh agility stats to their absolute limit, fully aware that if he doesn't cross the main threshold, before that timer hits 0, his win streak is going to get clapped permanently. While he's hauling ass, we spot a couple of clueless NPCs, one with a flaming red mop top and the other looking like a busted cue ball, who've decided this whole divine game is just some high-effort troll. Our protagonist blows past them without a second thought, because he knows, in this world, if you don't play by the rules, your life subscription gets instantly cancelled. The second his foot crosses the line, the countdown ends, and the two morons learn a brutal lesson. The system has a strict no refunds policy as their heads simultaneously explode, in a geyser of gore. The crowd trapped inside the office is now having a full-blown group meltdown, finally understanding that those crimson digits hanging in the air weren't just for show. Just as the main doors slam shut and seal them in, the system announces the first raid boss is making its grand entrance, and everyone better arm themselves. The stage is set at the Slaughter Company, and the enemy is the Earring Cleaning Squad, who look less like janitors and more like walking, talking HR violations from the underworld. Their captain is a gnarly level 2 beast, armed with a steel broom and a razor-sharp dustpan, flexing stats that would make any normal person's soul log out for good. All of a sudden, some absolute unit of a dude steps forward, a guy who looks like he benches freight trains and is ready to punch his ticket to riches. This beefcake is radiating some serious I'm the main character energy, completely blowing off our hero's warning that you can't just brute force these monsters. He's already picturing the mansions and supercars positive that scoring the first blow will catapult him to the top of the leaderboard. He charges the boss with the unearned confidence of someone who's never seen a health bar, only to get his head swatted clean off his shoulders by the captain's broom in a single brutal swing. The remaining players immediately start to freak out as the minions swarm in, cackling about how it's time to take out all the trash. While everyone else is busy having a panic attack, our guy decides it's time to clock in, unleashing a punch so powerful it launches one of the cleaner mobs into a wall like a rag doll. He schools the terrified crowd that the only path to survival is to stop playing the victim and start acting like a player. This isn't just for kicks though. He's watching for that glorious system notification. In this game, no loot drop means the monster is just faking it, so he makes sure this one is permanently deleted, and snags himself a steel broom weapon and a strength card. He's literally power leveling in real time, pumping the red cards to juice his strength up to level 3, and even snatching an agility card off some scrub who tried to gank him from behind. The situation gets real when the boss suddenly gets tunnel vision for our boy, all thanks to that classic gaming mechanic, the aggro system. Our guy knows that 1v squatting the captain and his remaining goons is a total suicide mission, so he screams at the other survivors to snap out of it and start chucking whatever they can find to create a diversion. Unsurprisingly, most of them are frozen solid, with terror unable to lift a finger, all except for one brave nerd with glasses. While the rest of the sheeple try to pull him back, the nerd yeets a keyboard, nailing the boss square in the face. It's the perfect distraction, giving our hero the exact opening he was waiting for. With his stats now boosted, and his past life combat instincts kicking into overdrive, our boy dismantles the remaining minions, turning them into scrap. Before blinking behind the boss like a vengeful ghost, he lets the captain know, "You're the real trash that needs taking out," before lopping its head off with a single, clean slice. As the chaos subsides, the contribution leaderboard flashes open, and guess who's sitting pretty in the #1 spot, with 700 points. But he's already focused on the next play, wondering if this flawless run is enough to finally secure him the S-rank card number 0. 0-1, a god-tier power he could only dream of getting his hands on in his previous life. He pulls up the global rankings and sees that even though he's the only one on the board with any points right now, holding on to that top spot is going to be an absolute war. This isn't some local server, it's a worldwide deathmatch. Catapulted back to square one, is now fighting for the very same legendary rewards he remembers from his first run. He's fully aware that god-tier players are about to emerge from the woodwork, so he has to squeeze every last point out of each challenge if he's going to clutch that S-rank card, Nova 001. For toppling the boss, a loot crate materializes before him, revealing some stat-boosting cards and a curious iron embryo card. This thing is essentially a weapon gacha, one that manifests a unique blade based on the wielder's soul, and since swords are the undisputed meta on the battlefield, our guy is seriously praying his gacha luck is on point. He takes a beat to give a nod to the nerdy kid with the glasses, acknowledging that even though the kid's legs were trembling, he had the guts to jump in when it mattered. Our hero tosses him 3 cards: stamina, agility, and a cleaning card as a reward for the assist. The nerdy kid is absolutely floored, shocked that he would just hand over powerful upgrades, but our protagonist spells it out for him if he hadn't made a move. The whole situation would have gotten a whole lot uglier. Our guy then juices his own stats with a strength card, bringing everything to a solid level 4. At the same time, his new companion uses his cards and immediately feels like his body shed 50 pounds of dead weight. The kid is baffled about getting experience points without landing a final blow, but our hero explains that simply helping with the beatdown guaranteed him a share of the XP. Now it's time for the ultimate gamble, the weapon forge. Our protagonist channels his aura, and the embryo materializes into the Blue Vein Sword, a growth-type weapon that's currently E rank but has the terrifying potential to become a legendary beast. It's already equipped with a sky-rending slash skill that stockpiles blood energy to unleash a devastating wave of power. And for an added perk, it unlocks a new random skill every 10 levels. It's also soulbound, which means nobody can yoink it. A critical feature in a world where people would stab their own grandma in the back for a single stat point. Our hero thinks it's decent enough, but let's be real, compared to the dragon flame sword he wielded in his past life, this new blade is basically a newborn. A system notification suddenly blares. The second stage is starting in the staff cafeteria, and everyone has 5 minutes to get there, or they will be immediately eliminated. Our protagonist looks at the nerdy hero and invites him to join his party, because he needs allies with a working brain, not just more muscle. The kid is ecstatic to follow the certified badass as they make their move. The rest of the players immediately devolve into a chaotic mess, begging for a carry and offering millions of dollars in lifetime loyalty, just to make it to the next area. A couple of wannabe tough guys try to paint him as the villain for being selfish and not saving them all, but he silences them with a single death glare that absolutely vaporizes their courage. He lays it on the line, he's not some noble hero. He's here to protect the people he cares about, and anyone standing in his way will be treated as just another enemy to be cut down. With the message sent, he and his new nerdy companion step into the staff cafeteria. The system officially announces their arrival to the second part of the trial. At first, the kid with the glasses is actually relieved, pointing out the surprisingly decent smell and the lack of any sketchy status effects. But that calm atmosphere shatters the instant they spot the chef, a massive, hulking figure that looks like it crawled out of a nightmare. Our hero recognizes him instantly as the executioner, the monster whose entire purpose is to handle anyone who fails to respect the timer. They slide into their seats with 1 minute left on the clock. The nerdy companion assumes the walk wasn't far, so everyone else should make it. But our protagonist knows that human panic is the deadliest trap. He points out that while the distance was short, most people would squander that time, arguing over nonsense and hesitating until the very last moment. And right on cue, with 52 seconds remaining, the hallway erupts into a scene from a horror film. Players are screaming, shoving, and cursing each other for wasting precious seconds. As the countdown drops to 10 seconds, a handful of lucky survivors dive through the doors and find a seat, but then the clock hits 0. The real tragedy begins. A portly sweating man stumbles in a split second too late, sighing in relief as if he'd just made it. He was dead wrong. The chef, a true stickler for the rules, executes him on the spot, grunting that his time was up and he was now disqualified. The survivors are frozen in terror, the realization hitting them that their own hesitation had just been a death sentence for others. The chef then lumbers forward, chanting for them to eat. As he serves each table a tray of repulsive, glowing green ooze, the nerdy hero's face goes pale as he realizes the chunks of meat in the slop are the mangled remains of the monsters from the office. This grotesque sight triggers a stage-wide effect, slapping every player with a mental corruption debuff that nukes their strength and agility by 20%, and their spirit by a staggering 30%. The system then piles on the misery with a few final brutal rules. Everyone must clean their plate, no food could be left behind, and simply hesitating to eat will cause their spirit to drain at 10% per minute. If that spirit gauge bottoms out, you're signing up for a full-on psychotic break and an instant disqualification. With a 7-minute clock ticking ominously, the nerd hero is currently battling his own stomach, completely certain it's game over. But while the rest of the players are imagining a seriously gruesome fate, our protagonist just smirks, having already cracked the code to surviving this nightmarish feast. Our boy realizes his E-rank attribute cards have officially peaked since their boosting power caps out at level 5. Given that his strength, agility, and stamina are already pushed to the limit, he shifts into the role of a magnanimous leader. He flips his 2 extra agility cards over to the nerd hero, and the kid slots them in without a second's hesitation. His agility skyrockets to level 3 as a green aura engulfs him, making him look like he just took a dive into a vat of radioactive waste. The nearby players witness this power-up with the kind of crushing regret you'd feel after discovering a forgotten, expired lottery ticket that would have won you millions. Abruptly, the chef unleashes a guttural roar so intense it feels designed to physically vibrate the souls out of everyone's chests. He roars, demanding to know which one of them turned his precious underlings into a pile of industrial scrap. And as the other players are frozen solid by the sheer sonic terror, the nerd hero is shocked to discover he feels zero fear. The stat injections have reinforced his mind, giving him the mental steel to actually handle the pressure. Before the chef can start collecting heads, our protagonist leaps in, parrying a cleaver the size of a car door with his own blade. He coolly takes credit for the slaughter, which makes the chef label him a worthless little ingredient who's about to learn the ultimate price. The boss monster tries to overpower our boy, and the nerd hero instinctively screams out for his boss. That single word triggers a brutal flashback for our protagonist. In his past life, he forged an entire guild of elite survivors from scratch. They all called him boss, their eyes filled with the kind of respect you give a true leader, but the memory tastes like ash. Because on the long road to conquering the game, every last one of them became a statistic. He was the sole survivor to cross the finish line. For the longest time, he couldn't figure out why. As the chef lunges forward again, ready to dice him into a fine paste, our hero deflects the blow, and the truth finally crystallizes. He didn't make it just because he was logical or got lucky. He made it because his will to win burned hotter than anyone else's. He was prepared to leverage any advantage, any person, any trick to safeguard the life he valued. Announcing that playtime is officially over, our boy unleashes his true speed and completely dismantles the head chef. The monster is so thoroughly outmatched it doesn't even comprehend its own demise, because our hero triggered a hidden first strike bonus. His rewards are juiced by 30%, granting him 2 E+ strength cards capable of pushing his stats all the way to level 10. He also snags a unique memory card and a head chef's surprise box, which can give one of his stats a random 10-minute supercharge. A quick glance at the global leaderboards shows him chilling with 1,700 points. The players right below him, Sun Hai and Lu Yan, have barely scraped past 300. He recognizes those names as two of humanity's future legends, and while he acknowledges their raw talent, he knows the malevolent gods are just going to crank up the difficulty and throw even more depraved challenges their way this time. The system then declares the final stage a breakout mission, giving everyone 5 minutes to get to the ground floor lobby or be deleted on the spot. As the group starts to move out, the nerd hero flags down our protagonist, offering him a tissue. He mumbles an apology for being as effective as a paper umbrella in a hurricane. Our boy actually accepts the tissue, and reassures him that being observant and intelligent is its own form of power. Meanwhile, down in the lobby, the final boss is lying in wait. He's flanked by a team of soldiers radiating a blue aura, looking like they were bioengineered for the sole purpose of turning players into appetizers. The boss is already licking his lips at the thought of the fresh ingredients arriving, ordering his troops not to show any mercy. They brace themselves for one last epic slaughter. With 4 minutes and 36 seconds remaining, our hero and the nerd are descending the stairwell, heading straight for the final confrontation. The kid with the glasses is experiencing a low-key existential meltdown, trying to process how his boss just deleted a monster using what looked like pure speed. It's dawning on him that while beefed-up stats are a game-changer, your fundamental human nature is still a massive factor. Some people are just born physical freaks of nature, while others are running on brainy software that's prone to crashing under pressure. He feels a pang of despair, realizing that even with level 5 agility, he'd probably still move like a panicked giraffe in an actual fight. But his admiration for our hero quickly takes over, convinced the guy must have been a Spec Ops commando or some kind of secret agent in his past life. Without warning, our protagonist halts and tells the nerd to hang back and wait for the others. Your mission, he explains, is to inform everyone that the most critical hidden rule of this stage is to not move a muscle. If they make a break for the exit, no matter how safe it seems, they'll be instantly annihilated. The system brands them as failures and straight up unsubscribes them from existence. And our nerdy hero, he's watching this thinking our guy is some kind of saint, pulling a self-sacrificing move by 1v1ing the lobby boss just for him. But here's the real tea. Our MC knows that flying solo is how you unlock the juiciest hidden achievements. Plus, he's on a mission to hunt down the dude, who totally aced this level in his first timeline. The ground floor lobby is an absolute meat grinder crawling with 10 level 5 security goons, and a level 7 security captain, all of whom hit way harder than the possessed kitchen crew upstairs. In the original timeline, beating this stage took an entire squad. Going it alone was a guaranteed way to get swarmed, and turned into a corporate casualty report. And right on schedule, a red-haired guy materializes, looking like he's here to audition for the role of the hot-headed rival. This man, Sujong, was a legend in the previous timeline, the absolute backbone of his team. But right now he's just pissed that some short dude with glasses had the nerve to tell him to chill. He decides to test our boy's power level by lunging in with an attack, only for our MC to just bat him away like an annoying fly. Seeing that the redhead is completely lost on how the game's buffs work, Our guy slides in with a deal. Join my crew, and I'll spot you a free attribute card. But the real kicker drops when he hands over a memory card. You see, the twisted gods running this game are smart. They wipe everyone's real-world memories, because it's way harder for humanity to unite and rebel without any personal stakes. The moment Sujong gets his memories back, he remembers he has a kid waiting for him on the other side, a realization that instantly morphs him from a reckless brawler into a father with an overwhelming reason to survive. His fists clench with renewed purpose, ready to tear down this office building from hell. Our boy isn't going in unprepared either. He pops his E+ strength card and activates the head chef's surprise bonus. He was desperately hoping for a power-up to help him take down the boss, but the gacha gods blessed him with a 3-level boost to his stamina, making him a walking tank for the next 10 minutes. On top of that, he unlocks another secret achievement called the Courage Award for showing up to the lobby early, which buffs both him and the redhead with an additional level of strength. As they face the lobby doors, the security mobs start trash-talking, calling them fresh meat and wondering how many hits they can tank, while the redhead is sweating under the immense pressure of facing actual monsters for the very first time. Our boy just stands there, a psycho grin spreading across his face, looking like a man who's about to deliver the entire security team a permanent severance package. Our boy rockets toward the guards, with a kind of chaotic energy that suggests he has a personal grudge against office equipment. Watching from the sidelines, the red-haired powerhouse is having a bit of a professional crisis. He spent his previous life in the gritty world of illegal underground fights where his instincts scream that you always have to read an enemy's movements before you try to delete them from existence. He's thinking our boy is a complete amateur for charging in without any strategy. But our protagonist isn't fighting by any known rulebook. A pack of guards swarms him, looking at our boy like he's nothing more than a flimsy appetizer. One level 5 guard, flexing a nasty, passive skill that amps up his damage when he mobs targets with his buddies, tries to land the first blow. He doesn't even get to finish his taunt before our boy decapitates him in one clean surgical motion. The redhead witnesses this, and realizes that when you possess that much insane speed and power, waiting to counterattack is a luxury, reserved for people who aren't currently moving faster than a viral TikTok. It dawns on him that if our MC hadn't held back during their little spat earlier, his own head might have been launched into orbit by now. The system blasts out another dire red warning, ordering all players to the lobby for the grand finale. But our guy knows the grim truth. The lobby is already a death trap, and anyone who enters before he's done cleaning house is just volunteering to be on the menu. With 49 seconds left, he treats the entire room like his own personal grinding zone, carving out a safe space while our nerdy hero frantically plays traffic cop for the survivors. The kid is astonishingly quick on the uptake, holding the crowd behind a line and managing them, so they flood in at the absolute last possible second. Our MC clocks that the kid has completely figured out his game plan, proving that being a high-intellect player comes with some serious perks in this world. With 12 seconds to go, the redhead can't just be a spectator anymore. He's about to jump in, but our boy orders him to stand down and act as a bodyguard for the survivors instead. As if on cue, a guard tries to turn our nerd hero into a quick snack, and the redhead intercepts, catching the beast by its throat. He unleashes a punch that should have sent the creature to another dimension, but he's getting stonewalled, discovering that despite his stats, this thing is shockingly resilient. He gawks as our protagonist slices through security like a hot knife through butter, completely baffled at how he makes it look so effortless. The terrified survivors are crammed in a corner, praying that the two fighters in front of them can prevent their impending and very gory demise. The blue veined sword begins to thrum with a menacing aura, its skill nodes glowing a furious crimson. Our hero glances at the last few guards, scrambling to encircle him, and decides that playtime is officially over. He unleashes a reality-splitting slash that vaporizes multiple monsters in a single fluid motion, leaving the survivors wondering if they were just saved by a demigod in a medical gown. The real boss fight kicks off as the security captain emerges, basically looking like a final boss from a corporate nightmare. This dude is a level 7 monster, boasting 10 strength and a health bar so massive, it would make a lesser player just log off permanently. The onlookers are having a full-blown collective meltdown, but our guy is completely unfazed. He remembers this captain being an absolute party killer in his past life, but in this timeline, he's just another speed bump. He carves through the captain with an elegance that made it seem like the boss was constructed from delusions and soggy paper towels. The system notification dings, our boy has hit level 8, and his strength stat has just rocketed to an insane 14. This massive boost comes from the mountain of attribute cards and power-ups he's been stockpiling like a greedy goblin. His power level is so off the charts that the other players are starting to suspect he's not even a human player anymore. To clean things up, our protagonist pivots to the last grunt that the red-haired powerhouse is having a seriously hard time with. The redhead is grinding his teeth, pouring every fiber of his being into what he imagines will be an epic final attack. but our MC just casually one-shots the creature, dicing it into pixels before the redhead's punch even connects. The red-haired fighter is just left standing there, suddenly hit with some serious main character in someone else story syndrome. It dawns on him that his epic life-or-death battle was literally a 5-second chore for this guy. The beginner scenario for Slaughter Company is declared complete, and the contribution screen flashes into view, showing a score that isn't just a win, it's a massacre. Our boy is chilling with a 99.9% contribution score, forcing the redhead and the nerd to fight over the leftover decimal points. Back in the lobby, our protagonist is striking a pose that just screams viral YouTube thumbnail. As the system tabulates the clearance rewards, he's just wondering what kind of god-tier loot drops for a solo carry this hard. And, as it happens, the game is feeling extremely generous about letting him take his winnings home. A system window materializes, confirming that every single thing acquired in the dungeon, stats gear, and even the emotional baggage can be brought into the real world. The survivors are ecstatic, realizing they're walking away with not just trauma but actual superpowers, while our boy can already feel a migraine coming on. Unleashing superhumans on a world full of regular office drones is a formula for pure anarchy, and he knows he needs to get ahead of it. To stop society from devolving into a total mess, he's going to use his top-ranking status as a magnet to draw the world's most influential people straight to him. And speaking of ranks, the leaderboard appears, and the chasm between first and second place is almost a personal insult. Our hero is perched at the top with a staggering 3,000 points, while the person in second place, Sun High, is way back in the dust with 510. This isn't a leaderboard, it's a declaration of ownership. He basically runs this terrifying new world. The system then issues an all-stats activation card to each survivor, giving everyone their first hit of real power. The players are floored by how light and responsive their bodies suddenly feel humming with this new raw energy. But the gap in that power is absolutely immense. The brainy hero Siwon pulls up his own stats. He's rocking a pitiful level 1 in strength, and a slightly better level 4 in agility. The fiery redhead Sujong is just as let down by his own numbers, which are barely cresting level 2 across the board. Meanwhile, our MC is strolling around with level 15, strength level 9, agility, and level 9 stamina. He's basically a walking battle tank in a hospital gown, and the power difference between him and everyone else is so vast it's not even funny. Next up are the contribution rewards, which are doled out according to who actually pulled their weight. The nerdy hero frets that his microscopic contribution will get him nothing, but even he scores a strength attribute card for his efforts. The redhead makes out a little better, grabbing 2 cards and having the profound realization that actually fighting pays way better than cowering in a corner. Then all eyes turn to our protagonist, the guy with the 99.9% contribution rate. Everyone holds their breath, wondering what kind of ridiculously broken rewards the system is about to dump on him. The loot is absolutely busted. Our boy gets an item that skyrockets all his stats to level 10 instantly, plus a special job change card. He's offered a pathway to an S-rank class, and given a permanent team formation card, which lets him pull other players into a dungeon with him. He realizes this is his moment. He can switch his class, forge his own crew, and skyrocket his power level all at the same time. Chaos erupts as players start screaming, their bodies dissolving into particles of light, getting forcibly teleported back to reality. Our boy drops a heavy truth bomb. The world they're returning to isn't the same. Something has changed, and monstrous things are now clawing at the edges of their existence. He practically screams at them to level up and get powerful enough to fight the cosmic morons threatening to erase them. The redhead just calls it a dramatic-ass speech, but you can tell his words are hitting home. The teleportation sequence climaxes in a flash of light, and just as it does, a blood-red system window materializes before him. It announces he's acquired the S-rank special card, Nova 001, and the description that follows is insane. It claims to hold a power that transcends the very gods themselves. And from the deepest shadows, that mysterious entity watches him vanish, thinking to itself that if this kid keeps being so entertaining, it might just toss him a fraction of its divine might. Later, our boy jolts awake in a hospital bed, desperately hoping his final speech landed. Nurses immediately swarm his room like he's some kind of A-list celebrity, and a doctor informs him he's been comatose for 3 days, along with tens of thousands of others who collapsed in perfect unison across the globe. The doctor is practically begging for information on this global medical anomaly, but our boy isn't interested in a Q&A. He completely shuts down the interrogation, demanding to know where his mother is. He's escorted to her room only to find her lying in a deep coma, completely unresponsive, a living vegetable, just like before. But this time, he absolutely refuses to let history repeat itself. He reaches into his inventory and summons the S-rank card he just earned. The name displayed on it is Freedom, and its power is described as absolute. This thing is the ultimate cheat code. It can let a user enter or leave game stages on a whim, or it has a devastating one-time use to permanently banish a player from prison day. Anyone with a brain would keep it as their personal escape route for life, but our boy doesn't hesitate for a second. He activates the card, sacrificing its power to restore his mother's life. The entire room is instantly consumed by a light so brilliant, the doctor literally thinks a supernova just detonated. Defying every law of medicine, his mother stirs and wakes up, confused about why she's even there. Our boy wraps her in a powerful hug, tears streaming down his face, promising her that she will never have to be scared again. All the while, the doctor is in the corner, fundamentally questioning every single thing he learned in med school. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is grappling with this insane new reality. We see other players, staring at their system windows, eyes locked on the contribution rankings, realizing that some dude named Rohi is now literally the most valuable person on Earth. Deep in clandestine meetings, powerful figures are already plotting, desperately trying to figure out how to either recruit or control this person, who just became the de facto ruler of the world. Little do they know, this so-called ruler is busy being a total mama's boy in a hospital. We cut back to our hero, who is standing dutifully by his mother's bedside, gently checking on her when she begins to describe what she thinks was an incredibly vivid nightmare. She tells him about a horrifying amusement park, one swarming with actual monsters, where people were screaming and fleeing for their very lives. Our boy listens, his blood running cold, as he realizes she wasn't dreaming at all. She actually survived one of the amusement park-themed tutorial stages. She explains that just as some hideous creature reached out to grab her, her entire world went black. And when she came to, she was looking at a strange duo, a man and a woman who were leading everyone to safety. Our boy puts it together, even when he wasn't there to protect her. His mother managed to find a powerful team that helped her clear the stage. His thoughts are shattered when a familiar voice bellows through the hospital hallway. Someone is yelling about being transported to another world. Our boy instantly recognizes that voice. It's his best friend, King's-Eye. Just like the first time around, his friend somehow survived the tutorial stage and woke up with a fully functioning set of lungs. His friend is having a full-on main character syndrome moment, completely convinced he's the protagonist of a manga who just got isekai'd. He's rambling on about being with a massive crowd, and how some incredible duo led them all to victory. It all starts to click for our boy. Realizing his friend is about 5 seconds from being sedated by security, he grabs him and yanks him out into the hallway to talk, before the nurses tranquilize him. Out in the hall, his friend looks at him dead serious and asks if he believes what he's saying about this game world called Prison Day. Our boy decides the act is up. He calmly tells his friend that the creatures from that world can be brought here, and then tells him to open the world player contribution rankings. The friend, totally confused, does it anyway, commanding the system to show him the leaderboard. He sees the name Rohi, chilling at the #1 spot, with an insane 3,000 points. Our boy just smirks and confirms that's him, leaving his friend looking like his brain just hit Control-Alt-Delete on itself. But before the guy can even begin to process that his best bro is the world's top player, our boy decides it's time to cash in his S-rank reward. He activates the player job change card. He knows that pretty much all jobs in Prison Day are strong, but the S-rank ones are true game breakers. He's hoping to pull something insane like the mythical Elemental Envoy, the ridiculously named Apocalypse Black Flame Dragon King, or the impossibly rare Wisdom Seeker, who can literally control time. Of course, the gacha gods have a twisted sense of humor, because he rolls a job he's never even heard of, Myriad Novice. At first glance, the name sounds incredibly underwhelming, but the stats paint a very different picture. It grants a talent called Resonance of Tools, which allows the user to basically become one with any weapon or object, merging their mind and technique with it. But the truly insane part is its advancement path, where standard jobs max out at 3 stages. This one flaunts 5 cryptic question marks, hinting at a power ceiling that completely shatters the known rules of the game. And our hero, he's absolutely buzzing. The grind to level this thing up will be legendary, but the reward is shaping up to be god tier. Meanwhile, his buddy's screen flashes with a global alert. Someone just unlocked the world's first ever job change achievement. The gears start turning, and it clicks. Our boy just broke the game, again. All pride evaporates as he lunges for our hero's leg, latching on like a panicked koala and pleading to be his #1 disciple. But their epic bromance is cut short by a nurse who looks like she's fresh out of patience for the day. She's not there for a meet and greet. She's there to collect. She drops the bomb that his hospital account is bone dry, and he's over a month behind. His friend instantly whips out his debit card, trying to play the hero with his few $1,000, but our boy waves it off. His mind is already a whirlwind of calculations, flashing back to his previous life, running security for the super rich. His hand clenches into a tight fist. He makes a silent vow he will never be a burden to anyone ever again. Right when the financial pressure is about to boil over, the nurse's phone rings. Her irritated expression morphs into pure, slack-jawed shock. She hangs up, looking dazed, and informs our hero that he can stop stressing about the bill. Some anonymous benefactor just wired a ridiculous sum of money, enough to keep him here for the next 100 years. As a little bonus, she says this VIP package also covers the flat-topped patient next to him. His friend is deeply offended. He tries to explain that he isn't mentally unstable or a patient, but the nurse is already over it and walking away. Suddenly, three figures stride down the corridor: a blonde dude who radiates wealth, a striking girl with green hair in a white dress, and an intimidating man in a sharp suit. The blonde asks smoothly, "Are you Mr. Rohi?" Our boy levels a cool gaze at them. He knows instantly. The heavy hitters are here way ahead of schedule. The other power players who were dragged into this game have tracked him down. The real Game of Thrones is about to kick off. Our hero's best friend takes one look at the approaching entourage and realizes his broke college kid logic is completely useless here. From the bespoke suits to the air of expensive cologne, mixed with ambition, these people aren't just rich, they're walking economies. A light bulb flashes in his head. These have to be the mysterious billionaires who paid off the insane hospital bill. He's still trying to compute why they'd also prepay a century of his own medical fees, when his only current condition is a terminal case of confusion. The nurse leans in and stage whispers the obvious, "Yep, those are the money bags." Our hero thanks her for the breaking news with the deadpan energy of someone who's already read the entire script. He turns to the VIPs and casually introduces himself. Internally, the blonde politician is totally shook. He can't believe a guy in a paper-thin hospital gown is radiating this much raw swagger. He expected the world's top player to be way more intense. But our boy is already running their profiles through his mental database. He IDs the blonde as the heir to a national conglomerate and a rising political star. The man in black is a tech overlord with deep military ties who practically owns the internet. And the green-haired girl is an heiress who controls enough energy and mineral resources to purchase a small continent. They begin their polite introductions, but our hero cuts them off faster than a lagging internet connection, telling them he knows exactly who they are. He wants to skip the pleasantries and cut straight to the chase. The trio immediately understands this kid is no mere gamer. He's a predator who just seized total control of the room. A smirk plays on the heiress's lips. He's far more interesting than she anticipated. She suggests they move the meeting to a more private, high-class location, but our hero shuts that down instantly, deciding the doctor's office down the hall is perfectly fine. Without waiting for a reply, he turns and walks, compelling the billionaires to follow him, like a line of confused ducklings. His friend watches this insane power shift, thinking our boy just leveled up from broke patient to mafia don in less than 10 minutes. Suddenly, our hero points a finger at his friend and demands the strategy guide he gave him earlier. His friend freezes, looking as guilty as a cat next to a shattered vase, and weakly asks if he's even qualified to be in this meeting. Our hero realizes, in a flash of pure agony, that this idiot didn't read a single page of the guide, which explains why he and his mom missed out on all the beginner stage perks. Our boy is so frustrated, he mentally schedules a very necessary beatdown for his bestie. He turns back to the VIPs, his composure solid, and promises them they're about to see information that will change everything. While the poor doctor is unceremoniously evicted from his own office by a wall of security, the VIPs begin to pore over the retrieved notebook. Their skepticism vanishes like dew in a desert. The blonde politician's face pales, confirming that every monster weakness and hidden rule detailed inside perfectly matches his own harrowing experiences. The tech mogul and the heiress exchange a look of horrified awe, the chilling realization dawning on them. Everything written in this notebook is the absolute truth. "Dude, was that for real?" his friend whispers, and our hero just nods, confirming that if they'd listened, they would have landed a guaranteed spot on the global leaderboards. His buddy looks like he's about to yeet himself into the sun, realizing he just fumbled the chance of a lifetime. The billionaires stumble over their apologies for their earlier disrespect, with the heiress calling him a true prophet who can see into the future. Our guy flashes a cryptic smile, though he's privately laughing that his prophecy came from memorizing old sweaty forum posts from his previous life. A desperate grind that has now been forged into his ultimate weapon. Finally, the three power players swallow their immense pride and bow their heads low, admitting that feeling their lives hang in the balance was utterly terrifying. They're desperate to make it through the next ordeal and are practically begging him to become their personal advisor. Vowing to accept any terms he lays down, our hero studies their faces, lets the tension hang in the air for a moment, and then announces that becoming their advisor isn't entirely off the table. This power move leaves his friends staring at him with enough raw admiration to light up a small city. Our hero's best friend is practically buzzing out of his skin at the thought of a colossal payday, completely convinced that Rowie is about to secure the ultimate bag. In his mind, the number one priority is obviously cash, so Rowie's mom can retire for good, and more importantly, so he can finally escape the soul-crushing 9-to-5 grind forever. He's already mentally choreographing their joint victory shopping spree. Then our boy holds up 3 fingers and informs the VIPs that if they're serious about his help, they have to agree to 3 conditions. His friend nods sagely, thinking his buddy is a stone-cold negotiator, for instantly tripling the demands. He can only lament that his own strategic thinking is just too basic for these high-stakes negotiations. The 3 billionaires, terrified of getting deleted in the next game, immediately swear they'll agree to anything, whether it's 3 conditions or 300. But when our boy drops the first condition, the entire vibe in the room shifts. He wants them to publish the beginner's strategy guide across every single media channel available, print, online, broadcast, and give it to the world for free. The blonde politician looks like he just witnessed someone torching a mountain of money, asking if he truly wants to give away a life-saving treasure for absolutely zero profit. The tech mogul chimes in, pointing out that the commercial value of that guide is higher than the gross domestic product of some countries. And the heiress agrees, adding that it's far too dangerous to just hand over to the public. Our boy completely shuts down their capitalist panic attack by reminding them that the priceless item they're fighting over is something he already gave them for free. He clarifies that his endgame isn't just about bailing out 3 wealthy individuals. It's about saving as many human beings as possible. He tells them flat out that if they can't get on board with that, the deal is off. The billionaires finally get it. He isn't posturing. The tech overlord is astonished that someone so unbothered by profit actually exists, and the heiress finds herself feeling a little weak in the knees. Deciding that a handsome man with a noble heart is a rare collector's item, they quickly bow their heads, and they consent to spreading the guide across the globe as fast as humanly possible. Condition number 2 is that they must lead the charge. They need to create a player management bureau to regulate people with new superpowers, making sure they don't start terrorizing ordinary citizens. The VIPs agree in a heartbeat, since controlling the population was basically on their corporate to-do list anyway. Then it's time for the third and final condition. His friend is mentally screaming for our boy to demand billions, and even the blonde politician is sweating, wondering if Mr. Rohi is about to ask for his own small nation, or maybe a nuclear submarine. Our hero takes a breath and asks for a place to live. He clarifies that it doesn't need to be huge. He just wants to finally leave the psychiatric hospital and have a normal life with his mother. If finding a house is too much of an ask, he volunteers to just stay in the hospital forever. The room goes dead silent. The friend is horrified by this humble fumble. But the billionaires are absolutely ecstatic. They erupt over each other, agreeing 1000%, and they're practically begging for the honor of buying him a home. For them, this is the easiest and cheapest way to earn the favor of a god-tier player. The heiress even shoots the other two, a look that says, "Don't even think about it, he's mine to spoil." With the contract sealed, our hero decides to head back to his room, explaining that he needs to stick to his schedule. He casually drops that the countdown for the next opening of Prison Day is about to start. The VIPs look completely floored, and right then a system notification flashes on the screens of all the survivors. It offers congratulations and then reveals a 72-hour countdown until the nightmare begins all over again. The billionaires realize that their so-called priority rights just give them a front-row seat to see exactly how little time they have left to breathe. Our hero promises to write up the strategy guides for the second round as soon as they fulfill his demands, telling them to make good use of their 3 days. Just as the VIPs are bowing in reverence, a bodyguard interrupts the meeting to report that someone is insisting on seeing Mr. Rohi. The tech overlord tries to throw his weight around, commanding the guard to make even top government officials wait outside, but the guard stammers out that a visitor is here claiming to be Mr. Rohi's girlfriend. The vibe in the room instantly goes sub-zero. His best friend looks like he's just been stabbed in the back, collaring our MC and accusing him of being secretly booed up. Our boy instantly shuts that down, clarifying for everyone that he is 100% single and absolutely not seeing anyone. But despite his denial, a girl with a massive bouquet waltzes in, beaming with main character energy and chirping, "Long time no see." He knows exactly who this is, and the blonde politician, irritated by her sheer audacity, sizes her up, wondering if this is the girl from the rumors. Even the heiress has to admit on a surface level they actually look like a couple. But our MC's memory is razor sharp. It's Kohol. The flashback hits him like a truck, her dumping him for another dude, laughing as she told him to get lost, because some psycho had no business having a crush on her. Back in school, everyone swore he was down bad for her, even though he only ever saw her as a platonic friend. But now that he's blasted his way to the top of the global leaderboards, it seems his so-called issues aren't such a red flag anymore. Back in the present, the ex from hell Kohol tries to shove the bouquet into our guy's hands. With the desperate energy of someone gunning for a redemption arc in a telenovela, she insists the flowers are for him, and launches into a speech about how everything that happened between them was completely her fault. The blonde politician watches this cringe performance, and figures our boy looks like he'd rather be audited by the IRS. The tech CEO is already mentally pinging his security team to eject this walking disaster, but our MC's bestie is faster. He plants himself between them like a human wall, and demands to know what gives her the right to say any of this after dragging his name through the mud in front of the entire school. The girl feigns shock, playing the whole "I was young and foolish" card, but our boy just slices right through the BS and states the cold, hard facts. She's only crawling back now because she saw the global rankings. The heiress, who knows a gold digger when she sees one, sizes up the situation and mutters that the girl is, if nothing else, a realist. Kohal shamelessly admits he's right, but then pivots to full-on emotional blackmail, whining about whether he's really going to abandon her to die. After he stonewalls her, the best friend gets heated and corrects her, reminding her she didn't just turn him down. She publicly trashed his reputation and made him a laughingstock. Fed up with the hallway soap opera, our boy orders everyone to pipe down, and drops the final hammer on Kohal, informing her that for the record he only ever thought of her as a friend, and was never once into her like that. At this, Kohal goes completely delulu, accusing him of just being stubborn before offering to be his girlfriend, so he'll have someone to cure his loneliness. Just as she leans in to seal this imaginary deal, the bodyguards materialize, blocking her path. She tries to play the "I'm his girlfriend" card, but the heiress delivers a savage verbal TKO, telling her not to flatter herself since Mr. Rohi never even acknowledged her existence. The guards haul her out by the arms as she screeches that she's Rohi's woman, leaving the best friend to let out a huge sigh of relief, declaring that watching her get dragged off was the most cathartic moment of his entire life. With the trash officially taken out, our MC realizes that if his memories of the future are accurate, a very important person should have already arrived at the ward. He steps back into the room and finds a silver-haired girl, perched by his mother's bedside. His mom explains that this kind young lady told her he'd just stepped out for a moment, so she graciously stayed to keep her company. Our boy's entire expression softens as he looks at her and says, "Long time no see." His voice is laced with the weight of a past she could never comprehend. The silver-haired girl just looks at him totally baffled, reminding him that she's pretty sure she stopped by just last week. Our boy brushes past the timeline paradox because he's too busy reliving the moment she died in his past life. Her final words, a desperate plea for him to survive. He makes a silent vow, not again, not this time, and yanks her into a bone-crushing hug. The girl is completely bewildered, but blushing furiously, while his mom beams from the hospital bed like she's watching her favorite K-drama unfold. The best friend just stands there scratching his head, clearly wondering since when just friends involve this kind of life-or-death embrace. With the atmosphere getting a little too real by evening, the hospital has relocated our MC and his mother to a luxury VIP suite, proving that having billionaire allies definitely has its perks. With his mom sleeping soundly and the countdown clock ticking down, with 63 hours remaining, our boy decides to test out his new class abilities. He activates his Resonance of Tools skill and places a hand on the hospital bed. An instant blueprint-level analysis floods his mind. He feels like he's deconstructing its entire structure, right down to the second screw on the left leg that's about to wiggle loose. He's a little bummed there are no weapons around to truly test the skill's combat applications, but his internal monologue is cut short by a voice he knows all too well. It's the same phantom whisper that's been echoing in his mind since the day he was born. It announces that he now possesses the qualifications to undertake a god's trial. Our boy demands to know who is speaking and what qualifications they're talking about, but the entity is cryptic AF, promising only that he will understand in due time. It presents him with a simple choice: accept the trial or refuse it. Our boy knows this entity. He knows this is the one shot he has to gain the power needed to defeat the evil gods, making him realize it's now or never. He steps up to the plate. A menacing grin spreads across the shadowy figure's face as he lays out the stakes: clear the trial, and you get to return to your world. But if he fails, he'll be trapped in this trial space for eternity. And with that, our boy gets launched into an entirely new dimension. The place pulsates with a power so sacred and otherworldly that he's never experienced anything like it. But being a guy who never grinds for free, his mind bypasses cosmic wonder and immediately jumps to what kind of legendary loot drops for beating this challenge. The system pings trial arena construction complete. He looks up and finds himself staring at a colossal structure that has the appearance of a palace. Though he gets the vibe, it's more of a divine battery pack. A shady guide materializes to explain the rules, which sound deceptively simple. Eliminate the opponent in under 10 minutes to claim victory. The entity then drops a cryptic clue, saying that only wisdom that sees through the facade is the guaranteed path to winning, because apparently cosmic beings are allergic to giving clear directions. The trial kicks off without warning, and our hero watches as his opponent makes a grand entrance. It's a knight with flowing blonde hair carrying a literal skeleton on his back, who goes by the cheery title, Oathkeeper Without Eyes, the greatest swordsman who can never be injured. The timer immediately starts counting down from 9 minutes and 59 seconds, leaving zero time for small talk. The system spawns a weapon for him, and he figures it's the perfect opportunity to test out his new Resonance of Tools ability. He tries to connect with the sword to analyze its very atomic makeup, but the skill completely fizzles out. A system alert clarifies that the item isn't a genuine tool. The sword is nothing more than a digital mirage. Our boy realizes if the weapon isn't real, then there's absolutely no reason to hold back. He decides to brute force his way through and speedrun the encounter. The Oathkeeper charges, attacking with the raw fury of the strongest swordsman, his massive greatsword slicing through the air with terrifying velocity. Our hero parries the devastating hits, actually impressed by the sheer force, but then he spots a gaping vulnerability in the knight's final attack. Believing the match is already in the bag, our boy launches what should have been a fight-ending counterattack. His blade cuts straight through the knight, and he waits for the victory message. But it never comes. The strongest swordsman takes absolutely zero damage, because, just as his title advertised, he is physically immune to being wounded. Our hero finally gets it. Trying to kill this guy with a sword is like trying to put out a blaze with kerosene. He needs a different wind condition. As he evades another lethal strike, the timer burns down to 4 minutes and 21 seconds. The hint echoes in his head, wisdom that sees through the facade. His gaze fixes on the skeleton strapped to the knight's back, and it clicks. The Oathkeeper's entire existence revolves around protecting that skeleton. The shadow observes from the sidelines, convinced our hero isn't worthy because he can't even touch this unkillable guardian. The clock dips to 2 minutes and 19 seconds, just as our hero cracks the code. Instead of targeting the knight's chest, he whips his blade upward cleanly, slicing through the blindfold that covers the knight's eyes. The shadow is totally stunned that he didn't aim for a fatal blow. With the knight's vision restored, our hero commands him to open his eyes and look at the truth of his mission. He forces the knight to see that the person he vowed to protect has been nothing but a pile of bones for a very, very long time. The Oathkeeper glances over his shoulder, sees the skeletal remains, and his entire purpose shatters into a million pieces. Without his oath, he simply dissolves into dust. Our boy stands among the vanishing particles, explaining that the puzzle's solution was built into the scenario from the beginning. The so-called unkillable Oathkeeper could only be defeated once he was forced to witness the failure of his oath and the weapon provided at the start. That was just a distraction meant to mislead him. With 51 seconds to spare, he calls out the shadow for lurking in the mist. The entity concedes that the most obvious truths are often the hardest to perceive, and confirms that our hero has officially passed the test. He declares our boy worthy of the true blessing, sparking our hero's imagination about what kind of S-tier power he's about to unlock. But just as he thinks he's cleared the stage, he gets engulfed by a blinding blue light. It turns out that entire fight was just the tutorial. The shadowy guide informs him that the real trial is kicking off now, and if he truly desires the blessing, he must withstand the raw, unfiltered source of a god's power. This means taking a full-blown psychic hit from the combined consciousness of every living being. Every single prayer, every cry of anguish, every shout of joy, and every angry online rant from billions of souls all at once. His mind is immediately overwhelmed by the sound of humanity, a cacophony of everything from wedding vows to the screams of newborns. He understands this divine power is literally fueled by faith, and rather than being crushed by the psychic pressure of an entire world, he starts cackling like a complete madman. The rush of absorbing this overwhelming power is utterly intoxicating because this is precisely the kind of high-octane energy he needs to take on the invading evil gods. The shadow watches, expecting him to break like a twig, but our boy just smirks and asks, "Is that all you've got?" The cosmic entity is floored, conceding that our hero is the real deal, the chosen one, and bestows its divine blessing upon him. But there's a catch. An even greater power will awaken the moment our boy recalls the god's true name. Naturally, he asks what it is. But the trial dimension shatters into nothing before he gets an answer. He snaps awake in his hospital bed, a system notification glowing in his face, spelling everything out. He's been gifted a unique blessing called Seraph Gabriel, which makes him completely immune to every kind of mind freakery. And then it hits him like a freight train. The so-called mental illness that has haunted him his entire life, the voices, the dissociation, was never an illness. It was his connection to Gabriel all along. The key to saving the entire world was hidden inside his own diagnosis. He barely gets a second to process this earth-shattering revelation before reality comes crashing back in. The massive countdown timer glares down at him, 23 hours and 49 minutes left. His best friend, who is practically buzzing with raw hype, immediately jams a tablet in his face that's playing a full simulation of the game stage. The friend is so amped, he's about to climb into the hospital bed, forcing our boy to give him a light smack on the head and remind him this is a recovery room, not a LAN party. His buddy apologizes, but immediately points out how ridiculously lifelike the simulation is. Mom watches them goof around with a warm smile, thinking their friendship is adorable, completely oblivious that her son is busy masterminding a plan to save the universe. Our hero glances at the newsfeed and realizes the billionaire trio didn't waste a single second. In less than 2 days, strategy guides are flooding the internet, and they've already launched an official player management task force. He wonders if the storm he's just unleashed will give humanity the edge it needs to survive the next apocalypse. Suddenly, a nurse bursts into the room, telling him he needs to head downstairs immediately because his transport has arrived. His friend glances out the window, and his jaw just unhinges. It's not just a car. It's an entire motorcade of sleek black limousines escorted by enough bodyguards to invade a small country. A message from the heiress pops up telling the friend to let Mr. Rocky know. They're here to escort him to his new home. The friend turns to our hero, eyes wide with pure shock. Seeing that the billionaires actually kept their word, our boy is out of bed and ready to roll, but his mom is deeply skeptical. She stares at the intimidating fleet of black cars and whispers that, if this is some shady business, they want no part of it. Our boy just calmly reassures her that he hasn't broken any laws. He's just a little busy saving the world. His mom looks completely bewildered, thinking her son's delusions are acting up again, while he just crunches into an apple, knowing that one day everyone will understand the truth. They pull up to the first option, a sprawling estate, so massive it looks more like a private luxury resort. The blonde politician presents it with a smug grin, explaining that it's a completely private property, perfectly tucked away between mountains and a lake. It comes fully loaded with its own organic farmland, a 16-person security detail, and 8 housekeepers working around the clock to guarantee absolute comfort. The best friend's brain just short-circuits trying to calculate the value of a house that is literally priceless. The politician then casually drops that if Mr. Rocky likes the place, it's his completely on the house. His friend is already picking out his room, but our hero gives the place one look and says, "Let's see the others." The politician's face just crumples, totally unable to figure this guy out, while his friend looks on in horror, like he just watched someone light a winning lottery ticket on fire. But the tech mogul is secretly loving this. A slick grin spreads across his face as he thinks, "My turn." He's absolutely convinced that no red-blooded man could ever refuse the option he picked out, stepping forward with the unshakable swagger of someone who has never been told no. He reveals a breathtaking penthouse overlooking the entire city skyline, describing it as the literal crown jewel of a world-famous landmark. The friend is instantly sold, just gazing out the floor-to-ceiling windows with stars in his eyes, because you can see the whole damn city. This is prime main character real estate, but the tech CEO isn't done. He claps his hands, revealing the real selling point: 10 housekeepers who look like they just stepped off a Fashion Week runway. They bow in perfect unison, calling our boy master, and his best friend's soul just leaves his body. He's blushing so hard he's turning into a tomato. He's barely breathing, just muttering about goddesses under his breath, as the maids swarm our hero, offering to cater to his every whim. The politician and the heiress watch this spectacle with a mix of pure horror and envy, both thinking, "Damn it, why didn't we think of the honey trap strategy?" The tech CEO is beaming positive that no man alive could turn down a luxury penthouse with a built-in live-in fan club. However, our boy just scans the room with the dead-eyed energy of a gamer in an unskippable cutscene and says 2 words, "Next one." The tech CEO is shocked into silence, probably wondering if our boy's hormones are on vacation, while the heiress cracks a small, knowing smile. She gets it now. This man is just built different. She finally steps up to the plate, leading them away from the flashy skyscrapers and into a quiet, much older neighborhood. She admits that she did a little homework on his past and asks him if he recognizes this area. Our hero stops dead in his tracks. The place feels familiar, yet completely alien at the same time. That's when his friend realizes it. This is the neighborhood where our hero grew up. Faced with this move, the 2 billionaire bros know they've been completely outplayed. This house was never just property. It was a weaponized dose of nostalgia. The heiress lays it all out, she hunted it down, bought it back, and then rebuilt it piece by piece, a perfect replica of his childhood memories. Our hero steps inside, sees the soul she poured into the place, and instantly he's in. The heiress is absolutely glowing, but the blonde politician just lets out a heavy sigh, realizing he just fumbled the entire play. With a place to live secured, our guy turns to his best friend and calls in a favor. The heiress, curious, asks what he's talking about, and his buddy just casually yanks a wadded-up piece of paper from inside his wristband, like it's a piece of old gum. He hands over the ultimate cheat sheet, a full strategy guide for every second-tier stage, a document that could literally decide the fate of humanity, which was just marinating in his sweat. The heiress is physically recoiling at his complete disregard for proper storage, but our hero gives her a direct order. This guide is top secret. She's only to hand it out to players with genuine top-tier potential. He explains that Prison Day is designed to force people to evolve, and just giving everyone the answers will only breed a bunch of weaklings who'll get wiped out in later rounds. He's building a squad of absolute killers to save the world, and the billionaires, finally grasping the true scope of his vision, are staring at him with a whole new level of awe. The game's countdown clock kicks in, and the scene shifts to his friend, who is packed like he's about to solo the apocalypse. He's rocking a backpack the size of a small car overflowing with gear. While telling Rohi's mom they're heading out on a little field trip. When she asks about their destination, the friend grins and says, they're just popping over to another world, which is technically not a lie, but is 100% terrifying. The system clock strikes 0, and the world begins to dissolve around them. As they dematerialize, our boy tells his friend that this time, there are no more free rides. He's got to pull his own weight, but his buddy isn't even phased, shouting back that he'll see him on the leaderboards. Our hero materializes in the D-rank stage, a hellscape called the Frozen Apartments, and a chill runs down his spine. It's identical to his past life. The system announces the objective: find and kill a boss within 5 minutes. Simple. Except our boy knows that's a total noob trap engineered to get clueless players slaughtered. The real objective demands absolute trust between two people. One to bait a boss from the roof, the other from the basement, and make them meet in the middle. The big problem: this is the exact strategy that got him a knife in the back last time, so his trust meter is sitting at absolute zero. He needs someone unshakably loyal. So he pulls out his ultimate trump card, the permanent skill form a team. He calls for his partner, and in a shimmer of light, Xiao, the gray-haired girl from the hospital, flickers into existence before him. She spins around, completely bewildered, asking what kind of weird dimension he's dragged her into now. Our hero looks at the disoriented girl and just rips the band-aid off, telling her he's the one who summoned her into this personal, frozen hell. He reveals that in the original timeline, her first stage was a nightmarish survival game on a deserted island that left her with enough trauma to keep a legion of therapists employed for decades. He couldn't stand by and watch her go through that island of horrors again, so he snatched her from that fate and pulled her into this one instead. Because hey, if you've got to get traumatized, at least you can be traumatized together. She starts to ask how he could possibly know about the island, but she's cut off by a system notification popping up right in her face. She just stares at the glowing blue text, the horrifying realization dawning on her that this is the prison day game from all those viral clips. Our boy confirms her fears and gets straight to the point. He needs a partner he can trust with his life because in about 90 seconds, that door is going to swing open and unleash something straight out of a horror movie. He holds out his hand to her, and that single gesture triggers a memory buried deep in her soul. She sees herself as a broken, orphaned kid, and our boy offering that very same hand, and asking her to play. Back then, his hand was the one anchor in her storm-tossed life. Right now, it's no different. She takes his hand, no hesitation, not a single doubt. She's in. Our hero turns his back to the door, running a quick final check. You remember the plan? She gives a sharp nod. She's got it all memorized. This place isn't just a building. It's a vertical death trap with monsters waiting to pop out at any second. To survive, they have to draw the top floor boss and the basement boss into a collision course right in the middle. He nods, relieved to have a teammate who actually follows a plan unlike a certain best friend, and throws open the door to the corridor. An Arctic blast assaults them so intense it feels like the air itself has frozen solid. It'll get warmer once we start grabbing some attribute cards. Our hero promises, already moving towards the first monster spawn point. As if on cue, a dude clutching a knife emerges from the shadows, shivering violently. He locks eyes with our hero, and his face breaks into a mask of pure relief, playing the part of an honest-to-God survivor. But our boy's internal alarms are screaming. He knows exactly who this guy is. The absolute snake who backstabbed him in his previous life. Back then, this clown played the part of a loyal squad mate, always vanishing during the chaos of battle only to materialize the second the boss fell, so he could drive a blade through our hero's spine and jack his gear. And now, this two-faced coward strolls up, proposing an alliance to watch each other's backs while his inner monologue is already fantasizing about icing our boy for his high-tier loot and keeping the girl for some truly twisted entertainment. The guy stretches his face into a fake smile, preaching about how they've got to stick together in a death trap like this. Our hero plays along the phantom pain of a cold blade piercing his back, a crystal clear memory, and decides it's time to repay that debt with interest effective immediately. Without a single word, he plunges his dagger straight into the guy's chest. The traitor's eyes go wide, staring down at the steel buried in his torso in pure, unadulterated shock, as our boy leaves him gurgling on the cold ground, forcing him to fend for himself, a perfect mirror of the betrayal he committed in the last timeline. He pivots to Xiao and coolly asks if she has any questions. Being the absolute ride-or-die she is, she just shakes her head, trusting that he has a damn good reason for whatever he does. As they step over the dying man, a hidden figure watches them from the inky blackness. This is the world's 33rd ranked player, a dude who devoured the strategy guides. And he knows Rohi is the undisputed #1. He's completely baffled. Why would a legend who drops free guides for the community just shank some random dude without provocation? He concludes that our hero's methods are a total enigma, but damn if they aren't captivating to watch. Our boy then leads Xiao into a darkened room, calmly informing her not to stress because they're definitely about to have company. And right on cue, a monstrosity called the Hanging Thrushwife repels from the ceiling like a spider sculpted from pure nightmare fuel. It's a level 5 beast with respectable stats, and Xiao instinctively dives behind our hero, completely terrified. The creature lets out a piercing hiss, ready to pounce. But our boy just looks utterly unimpressed. He tells it to pipe down because it's making too much noise, and delivers a single, almost lazy backhand that completely obliterates it. As they snag a stamp card from its dissolving remains, Xiao stares at him, her jaw practically on the floor, stammering out a question about whether he's always this savage when he fights monsters. Our girl's brain is clearly short-circuiting, because her priorities are fascinatingly broken. She literally just saw our hero turn a human traitor into a shish kebab, not 5 minutes ago, and didn't even flinch. But apparently, slapping a monster into next week is where she draws the moral line. Executing a treacherous human, just business as usual. But disrespecting a ceiling-dwelling demon, that's just pure brutality. Our hero just sighs and sets her straight, explaining that not every enemy is going to be this pathetic. Some are genuinely dangerous, unlike the hanging thrush wife, which was basically just a level 1 loot piñata. He hands her the stamp card and tells her to activate it with her thoughts, which sounds like some bogus advice from a wellness influencer, but it actually works. A brilliant golden light erupts around her. She dings level 1, and suddenly, the bone-chilling cold of the corridor feels way more like a cozy room. Completely floored by his expertise, she asks if he's a master of this game because he actually has fun playing it. Our hero freezes mid-stride. The atmosphere in the hallway plunges faster than the temperature. With a voice stripped of all emotion, he tells her there is absolutely nothing fun about this game, and that his one and only purpose is to utterly destroy it. She can't possibly fathom the trauma swirling behind his eyes, but she decides to back his play unconditionally, with the unwavering devotion of a golden retriever. At that exact moment, a monster smashes through a wall, trying to catch our girl off guard. But our hero moves like a blur, snatching it out of the air by the neck and crushing its windpipe like an empty soda can. He glances at his empty hand and clicks his tongue in irritation. No drop. He explains that while the card drops are just random RNG trash, the floor boss is a guaranteed jackpot, so they have to keep pushing forward. As they proceed, they pass by other players, who are in a full-blown panic realizing the corridor is a twisted labyrinth with no stairs, leaving them trapped like rats in a freezer. That's when our hero drops some chilling intel. The ambient temperature in the frozen apartments plummets by 1 degree every 5 minutes. It starts at a chilly 6 degrees, but wait half an hour, and it's going to be deep in the negatives. Even players with beefy stats will end up as human popsicles if they don't locate the boss and clear the way. He's navigating the maze with an unnerving confidence, but he's still being watched. The guy with the ponytail and glasses, ranked number 33 on the global leaderboard, is tailing them, deconstructing our hero's every action, and trying to solve the puzzle of how he knows this place like the back of his hand. He figures that anyone capable of writing so many flawless guides must have some kind of special game-breaking ability, so he decides to let the number 1 player serve as his own personal GPS. Our hero knows the boss is a coward that likes to hide, so he needs to find a way to make a hell of a lot of noise. Luckily, a candidate for Loudest Idiot of the Year immediately presents himself. A thug with wild red hair and a face full of piercings plants himself in their path, aggressively demanding to know if he's the famous Rohi. Our girl asks if our boy knows the guy, and our hero hits him with the ultimate shutdown. Never seen him in my life. The thug completely loses his mind, screaming that he has a name on the global rankings. He proudly announces he's ranked 783 Jungi, but arrogantly insists they call him Young Master Key. Our boy just looks at him like he's speaking another language, and asks him to repeat that rank, a question so devastatingly disrespectful, it causes their stalker in the shadows to physically cringe. The thug, getting all bent out of shape, that his 3-digit rank isn't getting him any clout, loudly proclaiming he's here to smoke our hero and snatch that number 1 spot. He lunges in with a wild haymaker, screaming that our guy's top rank is just a fluke, but our boy just swats him aside like a fly. Effortlessly, he tells rank 785 to go cry in a corner, because the adults are talking deliberately, butchering the number just to pour salt in the wound. The punk absolutely loses it, whipping out a blade and screaming at his crew to jump this new guy. He swears he's going to return the favor 100-fold, but our hero quickly realizes these goons aren't evil, they just share a single brain cell, so he decides against sending them to the Shadow Realm. Instead, he rips a freaking metal pipe from the wall, ready to deliver the life lessons their parents clearly skipped. Right now, our hero is brainstorming a way to cause a massive scene, something loud enough to bait the local floor boss out of hiding. He figures this little metal pipe is the perfect instrument to start the concert. He fires up his Resonance of Tool skill, and the system immediately dunks on him, rating the pipe as E-rank garbage. He's not even phased though, because he instantly sees the upside. This skill is a built-in item appraiser for any random junk he stumbles upon later. Plus, spamming it will slowly level up his strength stat. Meanwhile, the red-haired punk with the piercings is totally convinced our boy is just posturing. Seeing him without a sword drawn, he tries to hype up his goons for a charge, but his squad is in the middle of a catastrophic failure of courage. They're literally shoving each other forward, each one desperate not to be the first to get absolutely wrecked. The punk, disgusted with his useless crew, declares that the title of world number 1 is just an empty throne he's about to claim for himself. Our hero watches this whole meltdown and has a light bulb moment if he needs a loud noise. Smacking the guy with the biggest mouth is the fastest way to get it. He lands a crisp, clean smack right across the punk's face, a blow so solid it drops him to his knees, shaking. The guy lets out a shriek so epic our boy can't help but give the performance a 10 out of 10. And just like clockwork, the floor boss makes its grand entrance coiling around the screaming redhead like a starving anaconda. The goons are just screaming for anyone else to be the hero, while our girl just stares completely bewildered. Our hero calmly explains that this massive killer plant is their ticket to the next level, and tells her to stick by his side. But he warns her not to make any sudden moves once he's locked into the fight. Our girl is currently having a whole Marvel movie premiere inside her head, being a huge superhero geek. She's picturing her own stats skyrocketing until she's basically Captain Marvel ready to single-handedly save the entire planet with style. Watching from a distance, the ponytail strategist is utterly captivated by our hero's flawless execution. He instantly decides that getting on this guy's team is his new life's mission, and he's willing to pay top dollar for a spot. Back with the cannon fodder, the goons are still trying to trash-talk the boss from a very safe distance. But the level 8 carnivorous flora isn't listening to their smack talk. It's a literal mountain of leafy, thorny death. With a face only a nightmare could love, it begins to demolish the area. The red-haired punk, caught in the chaos, starts praying for a last-minute save. And our hero answers, launching himself into the air and plucking the loudmouth from the jaws of certain death. The punk is now having a full-on identity crisis, somehow feeling more humiliated by being rescued than if he'd just been turned into plant food. Our hero tells him to quit the drama and focus on grinding. He makes him a promise: if he can actually claw his way into the top 10, they'll have the proper throwdown he wanted. And just like that, the punk is a true believer. He vows he will reach the top, right as the boss dissolves into a cloud of loot. With the coast clear, the system prompts them with a choice: head upstairs to face mutated beasts, or venture downstairs to meet some truly horrifying apparitions. Our girl is desperately trying to keep her cool because, plot twist, she's a massive horror junkie. She finds monsters and ghosts to be peak entertainment and is fighting a huge grin. She's trying not to look like a complete psycho, but she's secretly hoping they can hit up both floors. Right as they're weighing their options, a figure emerges. The guy with the glasses and ponytail finally steps out from the shadows. He introduces himself as Lou, revealing he's ranked 34 in the world. He basically begs to join their party, promising he'll be the most cracked support player they've ever seen. Our hero gives the ponytail strategist Lou a knowing smile. It's a look that says he's just found the only other sane person in the asylum. Lou is currently sitting pretty at rank 34 worldwide. That is a colossal flex, considering there are hundreds of thousands of players trapped in this death game. The red-haired punk, of course, is completely unfazed, still high on the delusion that his rank of 700-something is just a minor speed bump. He's on his way to the top 10, you see. In truth, Lou has been on our hero's radar for a while now. He recognizes him instantly as the legendary player who saved his life and pulled him back from the edge of despair in his previous timeline. Back then, Lou was the one who guided everyone through this exact stage, even though he ultimately didn't survive the original run. Our protagonist never forgets a favor. Lou clocks his expression and asks if there's a problem, while some arrogant punk smirks, absolutely certain a god-tier player would never team up with a level 34 nobody. But our guy absolutely demolishes that train of thought. He declares that Lou is precisely the kind of beast he needs for this mission. Overwhelmed, Lou attempts to give him a few attribute cards as a sign of gratitude, but our protagonist flat out refuses. See, he's majoring in the art of returning favors and has zero intention of billing the man who once saved his hide for the honor of joining his crew. So instead, Lou presents the cards to our leading lady, whose eyes practically sparkle as she snatches them up, already daydreaming about all the epic gear she's gonna buy. Lou silently observes, thinking that a leader who turns down free stuff is either a total legend or scarily competent, and he's pretty sure it's both. The redhead from before tries to butt in one last time, but our hero skewers him with a look so lethal, it instantly deletes his entire sense of self-worth. As they descend the staircase, Lou asks for the game plan for this floor, and our protagonist, being a living, breathing encyclopedia on how not to die, breaks down the architecture. We're looking at a 7-level vertical maze. His strategy: it's pure high IQ laziness. They're gonna dive straight to the very bottom, get the final boss's attention, and then kite that monster all the way to the top floor to let the two big bads annihilate each other. While the team kicks back and enjoys the show, Lou is completely floored by this tactic, understanding that only a true monster with that much raw power could use a final boss like some kind of attack dog, all to shield his allies from danger. And that's when it dawns on our leading lady. His original plan was to pull off this entire insane feat alone, just to protect her. He confesses that her well-being is his absolute priority, making her feel like the main character in some epic high-stakes drama. However, that romantic bubble is instantly popped by the room's temperature, which is now plummeting like a rock. They arrive on the second floor, which has turned into a legitimate icebox, and come face to face with the boss Hound King Eris. This level 10 creature has stats that could chew up a normal person for breakfast. Our protagonist draws his sword and orders the squad to fall back and defend themselves while he takes center stage. While our hero is locked in combat with the colossal wolf, a swarm of frost minions decides to crash the party, zeroing in on the others. This is when Lu reveals he's the 9th generation, heir of the 8 trigram palms, which suddenly explains why he's tossing these mobs around like they're nothing. He's fully prepared to play the hero for our leading lady, but he's left completely stunned when she leaps into the chaos and starts vaporizing monsters herself. She's vibing on her new attribute boosts, discovering that crushing enemies is way more fun. When you've got the power of a small tank, Lu is officially shook, realizing that even the number 1 player's partner is a straight-up beast. Meanwhile, our protagonist is moving around the floor boss with the grace of a dancer in a deadly rhythm game, effortlessly evading every devastating swipe while spotting a weak point larger than a Black Friday sale. He lands a clean hit from the flank, but from the sidelines Lu is watching with a completely baffled expression. Lu is running the numbers in his head, and he figures our hero has had about 50 clear openings to turn this boss into a new carpet, but he's deliberately steering clear of any fatal blows, even as the temperature continues to plummet, so fast that their breath is crystallizing in the air. Lu begins to wonder if our protagonist has completely lost his marbles, because if this fight doesn't end soon, they're all destined to become human-sized ice sculptures. But in truth, our hero is playing 4D chess. He knows that killing the boss the normal way will just make the creature go into a rage state, and the loot drops will be garbage, and they'll completely miss out on the top-tier rewards. His real objective is to activate a hidden quest, one that only triggers if you can surgically slice the monster's health down to exactly 1% without landing the final blow. Suddenly, the Hound, King Eris, decides it's had enough of this game and starts charging its ultimate attack, gathering a swirling vortex of energy for a devastating wind cannon that looks powerful enough to erase the entire room from existence. Lu starts to panic, yelling for our hero to take cover before he gets launched into another dimension, but our protagonist simply tells them to focus on their own safety. As for our protagonist, Lu is screaming internally because facing that attack head-on is a guaranteed way to get your life subscription cancelled, but at the end of the day he's already sworn fealty to his new leader, so he decides to just trust the plan. He snags our leading lady and pulls her back to a secure spot, narrowly dodging a shockwave of air that would have yeeted them both into the next life. When the gale finally subsides, our girl is on the verge of a full-blown panic attack, terrified by the close call and convinced our hero has been shredded into a million pieces. She immediately tries to rush back in, but Lu holds her firm, reminding her of their leader's direct order to hold their position and trust him. She questions whether anyone could possibly endure that kind of onslaught alone, but right as the last gust of wind settles, our protagonist's voice cuts through the silence, casually telling them the coast is clear, as if he'd just stepped out to grab the morning paper. They return to the chamber only to find the once terrifying boss pancaked on the floor, clinging to a pathetic 1% of its health. It's been slapped with a debuff called Total Shutdown, looking less like a monarch and more like a sad, discarded carpet. A wave of pure relief washes over our girl, her eyes wide as she declares that our hero is straight out of a superhero blockbuster. Meanwhile, the strategist is having a full-blown identity crisis, realizing he was stressing over the safety of a guy who majors in demolishing monsters for a living. Our hero yanks his blade free from the boss's hand and informs the beast that it's time to kickstart the secret scenario. He proposes a reunion with its original master, and to everyone's surprise, the wolf seems totally on board with the plan. A prompt flashes into existence, confirming Eris wants to squat up, and my guy smashes the accept button faster than someone snagging the last slice of pizza. This officially launches the hidden mission, juicing the whole party with a unique buff and a frankly insane 50% boost to all final rewards. The loot immediately starts pouring in, including slick attribute cards that pump up our boy's strength and stamina. And since he hasn't even hit level 15 yet, he also scores a D-rank storage ring, good for holding 5 cubic meters of gear, which is a total game changer for someone who is sick and tired of hauling everything around manually. After absorbing his new stat cards, our hero's strength and stamina stats skyrocket, solidifying his status as a living, breathing cheat code. He glances over at their newest recruit only to see the massive, horrifying wolf has de-aged into a tiny, fluffy puppy. Our girl absolutely melts at the sight, unable to process that this adorable little fluffball is the same beast that was trying to clap them moments ago. Our boy playfully trolls her, asking if she'd prefer he change it back to its nightmare form, which sends a shiver straight down her spine. He just chuckles, revealing that this cute version is actually the creature's original appearance. He adds that the game developers just have a twisted talent for turning adorable things into absolute nightmare fuel. It all starts clicking for our girl. She finally gets why he's so dead set on wrecking this entire game, realizing the creators are clearly unhinged. Just then, a door creaks open and a colossal meow echoes down the corridor. The strategist figures it's just some oversized stray, but the little pup in our girl's arms erupts into a vicious growl, acting like its life is on the line. Our boy shuts that down quick, clarifying it's no house cat that's the boss of the 9th floor. And he's more than eager to orchestrate a little reunion between the new puppy and its old buddy. The squad ventures down into the second sublevel of the frozen complex, where the temperature is plummeting faster than my GPA during finals week. It's already a brisk -10 degrees Celsius, and it's falling by 2 more degrees every 60 seconds, which is the game's unsubtle way of saying move it or become a permanent part of the decor. They're instantly welcomed by a horde of level 9 undead mobs that look like they haven't had a decent nap in centuries. Our girl points out that the place is starting to feel a little cramped, and our boy confirms it, explaining that the closer they get to the main event, the mobs will not only spawn thicker, but also get way more irritating. This stage makes the tutorial zone feel like a 5-star resort. Just as the mob lunges forward, Lou decides it's his moment. The strategist moves to the front, radiating the energy of a man who just discovered his family's secret art, provides a massive stat injection. He tells our hero to conserve his strength for the real fight. He's got this warm-up act covered. Our boy observes as the strategist maneuvers, with his level 8 agility thinking to himself that talent really does blossom when guided by a true leader. Lou orders the duo to stick close behind him, playing the part of the ultimate bodyguard. And low-key, our girl is super impressed by this sudden glow-up. However, the strategist gets a little too cocky, and totally misses a pair of mobs creeping up on his 6, like a couple of terrible life choices. Our girl is about to have a full-blown panic attack, but our hero is ice-cold calmly telling Lou to get down. The strategist, trusting the voice of his leader, drops just in time for our boy to erase both monsters from the game with one casual, almost insulting flick of his sword. Lou is left gawking at the spot where they stood, realizing that no matter how much he grinds, our hero is playing on an entirely different plane of existence. Our girl can only stare frozen in amazement, thinking that his power scaling is getting completely and utterly broken. They finally arrive at the floor's main event, a dire cat king, which is essentially a supersized ball of fur and pure violence. Her first gut reaction is to call it cute, which makes Lou seriously question if they're even looking at the same skyscraper-sized killing machine. Our hero knows this feline is packing an agility stat so high, it would make his own speed look like dial-up internet, so he decides it's time to play dirty. He turns to our girl and asks for the puppy, balancing the tiny fur ball in one palm and his blade in the other. He explains that pitting this former boss against its old pal activates a secret mechanic that basically nerfs the Cat King's stats into the ground. The tiny pup unleashes a mighty roar, and a system notification confirms the Cat King's agility and strength have just been evicted from the premises. With the boss totally crippled, our hero gives his teammates the nod to handle the swarming minions while he spearheads the attack. He vaults into the chaotic battle, obliterating the lesser distractions and then launching the puppy at the giant cat like a heat-seeking billiard ball. The boss's defenses are completely shredded, so our guy carves its health down to a razor-thin 1%. But instead of landing the final blow, he makes the giant feline an offer. Become part of the crew and reunite with your master on the floors below. The colossal cat glances over at its tiny canine friend, and just like that officially joins the team, effectively turning our hero's party into a legendary tier petting zoo. The rewards immediately start flooding in, beginning with some powerful attribute cards that jack his strength all the way up to an insane level 15. He also loots an incomplete upgrade core, an item so ludicrously rare, he's actually stunned that it dropped. He instantly realizes he can use it to reinforce his gear's durability, making himself an even tougher target to take down. With both former bosses now on his side, the entire squad gets a ridiculous buff called Former Close Companions, which juices their defense and strength and gives them a 50% chance to awaken the final boss's memories. Our girl and Lou are feeling like they've absolutely cashed in, especially with that 50% boost to the final rewards. As the colossal door to the next level groans open, our hero strides toward the ultimate challenge, knowing they're finally about to face a boss that he can put down the old-fashioned way. The squad descends into what looks like a cavern carved from pure ice, where the biting cold feels like it's trying to yank your very soul from your body. While the strategist is moaning about how the cold is literally painful, our hero's attention is laser-focused on his blue-veined sword. He decides this is the perfect moment to use the incomplete upgrade core, and the blade transforms into a monstrous growth-type weapon. The sword spirit rendering slash has now evolved to its second form, which means whenever the nodes on the blade ignite with a crimson light, our hero's strength stat effectively leaps up by 2 entire levels. But he isn't finished yet. Reaching level 15, has unlocked his sword's special trait, allowing him to pull for a second unique skill. It's essentially a high-stakes gacha roll, kicking off a private light show of purple and pink that only his eyes can see. He manages to pull a B+ rank skill called Surging Wind, which gives him a staggering 5-level boost to his agility stat. He has officially graduated from fast to a literal blur, making him a brutally simple and incredibly lethal speed demon. They finally set foot on the bottom floor, an Arctic wasteland crawling with level 10 and 12 frost creatures. Our hero decides to delegate the grunt work, instructing the strategist and our girl to stay put and farm the mobs for some easy experience. While he heads off to bait the boss, the strategist immediately figures out that our hero was always planning to solo the main attraction anyway, while our girl just assumes they've been demoted to the cheerleading section. Our hero hands them the 2 puppies, his personal mini-boss squad, and orders them to sanitize the area and power up their stats while he plays decoy. The moment our hero melts into the shadows, the entire vibe of the group shifts. A monster tries to get the drop on our girl, but instead of screaming, she flares with a terrifying aura and drives her fist straight into the creature's face. It turns out, she hasn't just been tagging along. She's been training in martial arts for more than 10 years. She begins to methodically tear through the monsters with a grim, focused expression that would make a drill instructor nervous. The strategist is completely blindsided, realizing that our girl only plays the helpless damsel in distress when our hero is around. The second he's gone, she becomes a one-woman demolition team. Fired up by her sudden switch into beast mode, Lou decides to get his head in the game too, and the 2 of them proceed to turn the corridor into a monster-free zone, leveling up like crazy in the process. In the meantime, our hero is standing before the final boss of the basement, the Frozen Shade Maiden. She's a D+ ranked nightmare with an unquenchable craving for blood, and the power to spam 6 deadly ice spikes every 3 seconds. Our hero attempts to use the 2 puppies to jog her human memories, but the system just slaps him with a massive fail notification. He's not even upset, though. He never believed her deep-seated trauma would be that easy to cure. He just needs to stall for time and let the others finish their power leveling. With his new Surging Wind skill activated, he's weaving through her ice projectiles. Like he's in a game of dodgeball he was born to win. Back at the grinding spot, the duo has successfully exterminated every last monster in the area. Abruptly, a booming noise echoes toward them like a colossal hammer smashing the ground, and it's rapidly getting closer. The strategist goes on full alert, but our girl instantly drops her killer facade and starts to blush, quickly trying to fix her hair to look presentable for our hero's return. Lou is internally face-palming at her personality, flipping faster than a light switch. But then our hero bursts back into view, with the gigantic maiden boss chasing him relentlessly. Our girl and the strategist are stunned by the sheer size of the final boss, but our hero doesn't slow down to explain. He yells for them to get a move on, because they aren't making their stand here. They are going to kite this giant ice lady all the way back to the very first floor. The team is absolutely booking it to the top floor, with the basement boss hounding them like their rent is due. The strategist attempts a hero play, offering to soak some damage so our protagonist can get a breather, but our boy immediately shuts that down. Apparently, the Frozen Shade Maiden has some serious tunnel vision. She's laser-focused on him with a menacing crimson glow, and she isn't switching aggro until she gets his blood, or he nukes her from orbit. The strategist finally grasps that being the center of a nightmare's attention. Especially a level 15-1 is a role only our main character is equipped to handle, as our girl observes the boss has an unnervingly serene way of threatening to unsubscribe them from life while they're desperately fleeing. Hordes of lesser monsters keep popping up like a Windows update that just won't die, but our girl and the strategist are officially done. Playing the part of the cheer squad, they're now carving through the mobs with such brutal efficiency that our boy actually pauses to admire their glow-up. Meanwhile, the rest of the players trapped in the basement are having a collective panic attack. They're wailing about the biting cold and the agony, looking like a fresh batch of corpses just waiting to happen. Then our focus shifts to the red-haired dude. This guy, ranked a measly 738, thinks he's the next #1 warrior and is busy pumping up his team with a hype speech. He's going on about not sweating the small stuff right until the very ground begins to violently tremble. His squad immediately thinks it's an earthquake, but it's actually just our protagonist kiting a colossal shrieking maiden boss directly toward their party. The ginger genius tries to look unbothered and majestic, planting his feet and vowing not to retreat a single inch. But our trio just steamrolls right over him like he's a speed bump on the interstate. Our boy casually remarks that since the boss is locked onto him, everyone else is practically wearing an invisibility cloak. The strategist realizes his caution was overkill, while the redhead is left choking on dust, baffled as to why the final boss completely ghosted him. As they charge up the stairs, our girl asks if these upper floor bosses have some hidden lore too. Our boy explains that the upcoming bosses are actually manifestations of things the top floor boss despised most in life. This whole stage is basically a family catastrophe, scripted by a developer with a PhD in emotional damage. The top floor boss is the father, and the basement boss is his daughter. The story is a gut punch. The mother passed away because of a fraud doctor, and then the daughter, who had grown up healthy against all odds, was killed in a hit and run right before her father's eyes. The monsters who programmed this game then trap their souls in this digital purgatory, and the only path to a true clear is to let the father and daughter reunite one last time. The strategist and our girl both agree that whoever designed this level is a genuine sadist. They finally break onto the top floor, and are immediately greeted by the quack doctor, a mini-boss who looks less like a medical expert and more like a rejected horror movie creature. Other players are scrambling and getting wiped out, but our boy simply orders everyone to hit the deck before erasing the doctor with one single sky-shattering slash. The players nearby are left completely stunned, mouths agape, wondering which top-tier god just one-shotted the boss, like he was swatting a fly. Before they can even begin to process it, the maiden boss finally catches up. She's shrieking about blood and vengeance, completely ignoring every other player cowering in the room. The crowd is certain their game is over, but she doesn't even spare them a glance. Her entire focus is on catching our boy. Just then, the modified truck driver materializes. He symbolizes the accident that claimed the daughter's life, a high-strength D-rank boss, but our protagonist treats him like a minor nuisance. He dives in and annihilates him in a blink. This raw display of overwhelming power gets noticed by a shadowy figure. A pair of glowing red eyes watches from the sidelines. The mysterious observer notes that our boy is clearing the stage, far faster than the system ever intended, officially classifying the squad as anomalies within the game's code. The squad finally bursts onto the top floor of the frozen apartments where the entire zone has gone completely feral. The area is absolutely crawling with mutated abominations that look like they were conceived by someone with a deep hatred for happiness. But our boy isn't going to let a swarm of level 10 mobs kill the vibe. He orders the strategist and our girl to bolt through the final door while he takes care of the welcoming party, clearing a direct path with a flurry of slashes. That reduces the monsters to digital dust. The duo successfully crashes into the boss's domain, just as a red system window flashes. It informs them the door is now sealed from within. They are officially stuck in a room with the frozen Calamity, a level 15 tank boss. He was supposed to be the tragic father, but right now he looks like a walking mountain of pure malice. While the strategist and our girl figure out they have to survive on their own until our boy can break down the door our protagonist is facing, a much more urgent crisis outside. A crimson mission window appears, ordering him to slaughter every single mutated freak on the floor in under 5 minutes. If he fails, the door to the boss room will be sealed permanently. Our boy knows instantly that this rule was never in his past life. This is a new trial designed specifically for him. He suspects the malevolent gods are watching his every move like salty game masters, and they're straight up rewriting the rules mid-game to sabotage his speedrun. But our boy isn't even salty. He's just laser-focused on blitzing this floor, even with the mobs now playing some twisted version of tag, instead of throwing down properly. And to make things even spicier, the floor's mini-boss, that creepy frozen shade maiden, is still tailing him, and totally crashing his mob-clearing party. She's just screeching about blood dead set on turning him into a human juice box. But he has zero time for that, as the clock screams past the 4-minute mark. He unleashes the second phase of his sky, rendering / supercharging his power and yeeting the maiden across the room just to buy a single moment of peace. He knows on the other side of that door, the strategist and his girl are staring down a monster that makes the maiden look like a level 1 mob, and he has to smash through that door before they get permanently wiped. Inside the boss chamber, the strategist is having a full-blown crisis even while rocking rank 34 skills. He can't even track the frozen Calamity's movements, and it hits him the power gap between him and our MC isn't just a tier difference. It's a chasm, like comparing a mortal to a god. The boss is a lightning-fast whirlwind of pure destruction. But right when Lou is about to give up, our girl jumps in. She shoves the boss back and yells at the strategist to snap out of it, hitting him with the "we promise to hold the line" speech. The boss, however, could not care less about the pep talk and just snatches our girl, throwing her into a terrified frenzy. Seeing her in danger finally flips a switch in the strategist's head. Lou drops into a zone of absolute concentration, his entire aura erupting in a brilliant gold as he vows he will not fail the mission his new master entrusted to him. He triggers an enraged mode, and his mana and power stats just blast through the ceiling, letting him unleash his 8 trigram palm techniques as ranged attacks. It's like he's finally done being a background character and decided to step into his role as the high-tier strategist he was meant to be. When the floor boss lunges for another kill shot, the strategist digs in his heels, blasting the creature back with a shocking explosion of force. Lou is finally tapping into a secret power discharge technique his father taught him, flashing back to a memory of his dad explaining that the 8 trigram palm is way more than just up-close brawling. When you truly get the core concept, you can hammer foes from a distance, with raw energy basically turning your palms into plasma cannons. Back in the present, the strategist knows he's nowhere near mastering this, and his status window confirms his rage mode only has 2 minutes and 13 seconds left on the battery. He knows the buff only lasts for 3 minutes total, and since this boss is an unkillable tank, He decides that if he can't put it down, he'll spend every last second making its life an absolute nightmare. He fires off a long-range palm strike only to watch in absolute horror as the monster doesn't even move an inch. It's already adapted to his power. Before he can even process what's happening, the boss's colossal hand is descending on his head, like a hydraulic press. Lu knows he's in deep trouble. The creature's speed is just as terrifying as its raw strength. He winds up for one last desperation move, but the boss is completely unfazed, and a system alert pops up to absolutely wreck his day. His stamina bar has hit 0, and his rage mode just got force quit. Burning that much energy nonstop has completely emptied his tank, and as the boss looms over him for the finisher, Lu seriously wonders if his life subscription is about to be cancelled. Then out of nowhere, our girl intervenes, whipping out a 6-shot revolver weapon card she'd been saving. She had actually planned on giving the gun to our hero as a gift. But in this exact moment, keeping the strategist from turning into a ghost is a slightly higher priority. The earring revolver drains her stamina to automatically chamber rounds, unlocking a precision skill that jacks her strength up by 3 whole levels. Lu is stunned, realizing she must have scored this insane rare drop while they were farming mobs earlier, completely under his radar. She keeps blasting away, determined to stall until our boy arrives, but the strategist is screaming for her to bail. He can see the boss is already shrugging off the bullet damage, and since the thing is literally immortal, this entire fight is a dead end. The boss grabs our girl and just hurls her across the chamber, like a crumpled piece of paper, sending her crashing right next to Lu. They're both completely battered, and staring straight into a frost breath attack that's about to turn them into human popsicles. Our girl whispers that she has so many regrets, while Lu asks if she really has that much left undone. Her eyes drift to the door as she confesses her one true regret is that she won't get to die at our hero's side. And just as the killing blow is about to land, the door explodes inward, and in strolls our boy. He casually says sorry for the minor unforeseen situation that held him up, looking as chill as if he'd just been on a coffee run, instead of a desperate race against death. Our girl and Lu are practically melting with relief, convinced they were about to get deleted for good. It hits our hero that if he'd shown up a second later, they'd both be dead meat, but he immediately shifts his focus to the main boss. He clocks that the clear conditions have at last been satisfied, and right on schedule, the real boss from the basement finally materializes. The instant the father and daughter's eyes meet, the system announces an emotional reunion, triggering a hidden cutscene for the successful clear. The two ghastly monsters dissolve, reverting to their original human forms as the daughter cries out for her dad, and he sweeps his little girl into a desperate embrace. Suddenly, a notification appears informing the party that the duo's heartbreaking memories are being downloaded directly into their minds. The tragic backstory leaves the strategist and our girl completely wrecked, but our hero isn't exactly feeling the warm and fuzzies. His gut screams that something is completely wrong. He can't figure out why the clear felt so easy when he'd been fighting for his life against that new mission outside. His instincts are immediately validated when a colossal blood-red eye rips open in the sky above. The Divine Lord is seriously ticked off by how quickly they blaze through this stage, and a dark, ominous shadow begins to coalesce. A system alert flashes: a God Scout has descended. This shadowy entity with piercing red eyes stares down at them. It chillingly gazes at the squad, telling them they'd better put on another good show for the gods by surviving the coming ordeal. The shadowy figure starts preaching about divine grace, like some kind of cosmic pyramid scheme salesman, pushing the idea that their only purpose is to entertain the gods. He declares that the real show is starting now before summoning a set of menacing black chains from thin air. In a horrific twist, he uses the chains to forcefully revert the father and daughter back into raging, mindless beasts, sending our girl into a complete meltdown. She can only watch in horror as the scene plays out, her eyes fixed on the two puppies, the former mini-bosses, as they try to scramble back to their allies. The scout attempts to snatch the pups with his chains, planning to give them a cursed makeover too, but our boy is having none of it. He's not about to let his new companions get their souls corrupted. He leaps in, batting the chains away with the nonchalance of swatting a gnat. The shadow creep shifts its unnerving gaze to our hero, whining that he's been a major buzzkill since the very beginning. Our protagonist realizes this entity is a complete unknown, no level, no HP bar, not even a tag marking him as an enemy. He's a rogue element, a bug in the system our boy never once encountered in his previous timeline. The scout commands the two bosses to eliminate this anomaly. Without a second thought, our boy hurls the puppies towards the strategist, and our girl yelling at them to get the pups somewhere safe. As he braces for an all-out assault from the bosses, a crimson system window flares to life, declaring the start of the boss battle's second phase. The mission objective: slay the bosses. The horrifying twist: their souls will be utterly and permanently annihilated in the process. The scout nonchalantly adds that erasing their souls is no big deal, since they already pledged them to the gods anyway. Our girl explodes with rage, screaming every curse she knows at the scout, while the strategist looks on, absolutely sickened. He can't fathom how anyone could inflict such cruelty on two people who had already endured so much tragedy. The shadow freak just cackles. He proclaims that the gods are watching from on high, and that they demand a spectacular performance of agony to be properly entertained. He muses that twisting beauty into despair is the pinnacle of entertainment. But before he can finish his monologue, our girl tries to silence him permanently by putting a bullet straight through his head. The scout plucks the bullet out of the air with 2 fingers as if it were a piece of popcorn, and the strategist's brain just blue screens. The strategist knows if this thing can stop a bullet without even registering on the system, they are catastrophically out of their league. Our boy is thrown off for a split second, giving the 2 rampaging bosses a perfect window to charge him. He freezes, unable to draw his sword. He knows that a single swing will erase their souls from existence forever. He can see the tears streaming from the monster's eyes. He can hear their tormented thoughts echoing in his mind, begging him for the mercy of a final death. The daughter and the father are pleading with him to end their torment, so they won't be forced to harm innocent people just to continue their cursed existence. Meanwhile, the scout is just getting off on his own wicked monologue, rambling on about how the gods absolutely adore these kinds of purely evil acts. But our hero has had more than enough. He rests his hand on the hilt of his blade, making a silent vow to the tortured souls. He promises he will grant them their freedom, but not before he deals with the monster who is pulling their strings. He stalks toward the shadowy figure, his glare so intense it could crack stone. The scout begins to stammer, demanding to know what a pathetic human thinks he can do to a divine emissary. Our boy couldn't care less about his fancy title. He points out that being a scout doesn't mean you're unkillable, and he bisects the shadow freak in one clean motion as the creature screams for its gods to save it. Our hero coolly informs the dying scout that since he plans on killing the gods themselves, eventually he can just go wait for them in the afterlife. Real quick, if you're loving this recap, do us a huge favor and smash that like button and subscribe. It seriously helps us get the next chapter out to you faster. All set, perfect. Back to the action. As the god scout gets cleaved in 2, he chokes out a final pathetic damn you before erupting into a shower of divine dust. Our girl is absolutely ecstatic. She's cheering our boy on for finally taking out the shadow creep, while the strategist just gives a knowing nod, as if he expected this outcome all along. But our hero isn't popping the champagne just yet. He warns his crew to keep their guard up. Something far more sinister is hiding in the wings. A colossal silhouette materializes from the smoke, looking like a high-level manager, who just learned the office, Keurig, is busted. This new messenger of doom sports 3 eyes blazing with a toxic red and green malice, and he is absolutely fuming that his minions got wrecked by what he scoffs at as a mere toy. The raw power radiating from this entity is suffocating. Our girl and the strategist find themselves gasping for air, feeling like their very souls are about to peace out just to escape its oppressive presence. Our boy, on the other hand, stands unyielding, not even a flicker of fear in his eyes, coolly asking the 3-eyed monstrosity if he wants to be next on the list. The emissary confesses that according to the god's own rules, he's benched for this round, but he makes it crystal clear that our boy's head has his name on it. He sneers at Rohi to savor a long, meaningful life until they cross paths again, which he promises will be a spectacle worthy of the gods themselves. As the creature dematerializes, it dawns on our hero that the malevolent deities are messing with the script way ahead of schedule this time around, meaning they've clearly clocked him as a major threat. But he's unbothered. His long-term goal remains the total annihilation of the gods. With the shadowy menace gone, the original floor bosses, the father and daughter duo make one final desperate charge, but their guttural monster cries morph into their actual, human voices begging our hero to finally grant them peace. The daughter's voice cracks as she calls him Big Brother and pleads for an end to their torment. Our boy vows to make it quick, his blade igniting in a crimson glow, as he executes a single compassionate strike. As their forms begin to dissolve, they shift back to their human selves for a final moment, to offer their gratitude for his mercy. Our hero watches them fade away silently, hoping their next existence is a better one, while the 2 mini-boss pups also dissolve into particles of golden light and vanish. Our girl and the strategist whisper their farewells to the fluffy guardians, just as the system declares the frozen apartment stage officially conquered. As the world around them fractures and crumbles, the few shivering survivors receive the basic D rank, all stats activation card as a consolation prize. Among them is the red-headed kid destined to be the world's #1, who was about 2 seconds away from becoming a permanent ice sculpture before the clock ran out. He's just thankful he didn't bite the dust before even hitting the leaderboards, while the remaining survivors are gawking at the contribution rankings in utter disbelief. Our boy is perched at an absolutely outrageous 82.3% contribution, while the strategist managed a respectable 10.6%, and our girl grabbed a solid 7%. All the other players combined barely scraped together a pathetic 0.1%, leaving them all questioning if our hero is even the same species. The loot drops start raining down, and the stat increases are insane. Our girl levels up to 9 and gets a major buff to her strength and agility, but she's ticked off after landing 2 mana-centric attribute cards, Blessing of the Mage and Grace of the Elves, which are completely worthless for her build. Meanwhile, Lou hits level 11 and nabs the Martial Master's Torn Gloves, an earring that grants him a chance to land a critical double damage hit. He's already daydreaming about the epic beatdowns he can deliver with this thing. When the crew asks our guy what he scored for his legendary 82.3% carry, he just shrugs it off, mentioning some points and a fragment card. In reality, he's clutching a radiant gold piece of an S-rank card, proving that while everyone else is trapped in a horror survival game, he's playing a god-tier treasure hunt. A system notification flashes, cementing our hero's complete and utter dominance, bestowing upon him a staggering contribution score of over 4,000 points and one single S-rank card fragment. Our girl and the strategist just stare at the reward, their faces a mask of pure confusion. They're thinking that, after he single-handedly backpacked the entire stage, getting just a fragment feels like winning a keychain for putting out a 5-alarm fire. They can't make sense of the game's reward logic, but inside, our boy is celebrating. He knows that in the entire universe of Prison Day, a mere 15 S-rank cards exist, and every single one is a world-breaking item. In his previous life, he sacrificed more than you could imagine just to obtain the reverse time card, a skill that rewinds the clock, but allows the user to retain all their memories. He gets it now. Scoring an S-rank fragment this early in just the second stage is the cosmic equivalent of hitting the Powerball jackpot on your birthday. He just needs 3 more fragments to forge a complete card, a key that could unlock his absolute freedom from this hellscape. While the game was designed by a council of celestial jerks, it at least plays by one rule: winners take the spoils, and losers get their souls permanently yeeted. He secures the fragment in his inventory, one giant leap closer to making those arrogant gods nothing but a bad memory. And then the global leaderboard refreshes, and the point gap between our MC and everyone else, it's just flat out broken. He's posted up at number 1 with over 7,000 points, while second place is eating dust, lagging behind by a staggering 6,000 points. Our girl is absolutely buzzing when she spots her name on the list at rank 634, but the strategist is sweating, feeling the heat of being ranked 31st. He wonders if dropping guides for the newbie zone just ended up creating more rivals for them, but our boy clarifies that he couldn't care less about a personal high score. His mission is to save the entire world. He tells them that the more powerful allies they can gather, the more of a fighting chance humanity has to survive this apocalypse. The strategist realizes his thinking was way too small scale, while our girl steals her resolve to fight for the future. Just like that, the team is teleported back to reality, and our MC wakes up in a hospital bed, his mom watching over him. It seems she's already come to terms with this bat crap crazy new world, as she heads off to cook him up a bowl of his favorite noodles. Our boy has a moment of clarity. Prison Day might hijack your mind, but it totally ignores your physical body's needs, meaning his mom's cooking is the only thing keeping his soul from ghosting his body. The system dings again, congratulating him for his god-tier ranking and dropping him a bonus reward, because nobody is even in the same zip code as his score. He gets an A-rank job change card for a Shadow Mage Apprentice, a class that was the stuff of absolute nightmares in his previous timeline. He remembers an Archmage of Darkness, who once solo-deleted an entire city from the map, which just proves that while the class is terrifyingly OP, it's ultimately just a weapon. It can be a villain's sword or a hero's shield. Since he's already locked into his class, he's got to find a worthy candidate for this super edgy career change. He shelves the heavy thoughts for a minute to demolish his mom's noodles, just soaking in a rare moment of peace before a knock on the door completely kills the vibe. It's our girl showing up at the hospital, and her face is a high-definition picture of pure despair. She reveals the devastating news both of her parents have slipped into comas. Our MC then has to deliver the soul-crushing explanation that their consciousness is trapped inside the game. He tells her that if they die in Prison Day, their physical bodies in the real world will just give out from either starvation or total organ failure. Our girl looks like her soul is about to peace out from the sheer stress of it all, crying out and asking if there's any possible way to save them. Our boy knows the only guaranteed ticket to freedom is the legendary S-rank Freedom Card, which is basically unobtainable right now. But then he looks at her, and an idea clicks into place. He knows exactly how to give her the power she needs to forge her own destiny. He pulls out that A-rank Shadow Mage card and offers it to her, telling her to use its power to start climbing the stages. He lays it out if she becomes strong enough to annihilate the monsters who created this nightmare. Then everyone trapped inside can finally wake up. But our MC makes it clear that using this job change card is no simple buff. It's more like you're installing a virus straight into your soul. If her willpower isn't strong enough to fight off the corruption, she'll lose her sanity and become a mindless puppet for the evil gods used to slaughter her own kind. While normal games let you grind and grow, this twisted game serves up every level with a side of utter despair. Inside each job change card lurks a fragment of an evil god's will, a psychic poison, strong enough to shatter a normal person's mind like glass. Our MC was only immune because the trauma of his past life forged his will into something harder than diamond, sharpening his focus to a single point, eradicating the gods from existence. It hits our girl hard. If she doesn't power up, her parents are doomed to a vegetative state forever, and the world will just keep circling the drain. She tells our boy she's ready to take that risk, but his mom steps in, armed with some classic motherly concern, saying she's way too young to be making such a life-altering decision. Our girl thanks her, but stands firm, arguing that if our boy is out here, laying his life on the line for the world, she can damn well take a risk for her own family. His mom finally relents, giving her a quiet blessing, and our girl accepts the card. Then she makes a chilling request, asking our MC to put her down without a second thought, if the power turns her into a monster. As the shadowy transformation kicks in, she gives him one final determined look, telling him, "I'm counting on you." He watches as his own shadows begin to coil around her, thinking to himself that there's zero chance in hell he's ever going to kill her. He remembers her death from his first life and makes a silent promise, no matter what she becomes, he will drag her back from the abyss. He quickly hustles his mom out of the room, ordering her to keep everyone away. Unless he gives the explicit, all clear, he knows the god's consciousness is already trying to wage war inside our girl's mind. And while he's got zero mental type skills himself, he knows exactly who to call on for a favor. He focuses inward, speaking to that blue spectral being living inside him, his own personal cosmic entity. This thing is basically a grandmaster of all things psychic. The being confirms it can punch him a ticket straight into her mental world, but she lays down the stakes. If he can't crush whatever's invading her psyche, it's a permanent game over for him in the real world. But our MC is on another level of unbothered, basically scoffing at the idea that he could ever lose, let alone die. The blue entity is low-key impressed by his swagger, figuring if he can't even handle a low-level consciousness like this, then he's not main character material anyway. And with that, he snaps his eyes shut and plunges directly into the war zone of her mind. He lands in a twisted mindscape, a raging storm of shadows and internal chaos, but he's not here for the scenery. He immediately zeroes in on the malevolent energy, festering inside her, spotting what looks like her very soul getting completely smothered by the creeping darkness. This is officially the most intense therapy session in history, and he's here to forcibly uninstall some divine-grade malware. Our hero is absolutely tearing through these shadow creatures like they're paper, furious that these cosmic parasites dared to mess with his #1 teammate. For the second time inside this mental battlefield, our girl and her enigmatic twin are spectating his rampage, and the clone is hyping him up like his biggest stan. She's in awe of how he's making these powerful shadows look like total noobs, so she suggests they let him handle the grunt work while they get back to their own urgent business. The fight intensifies when a dark energy orb comes hurtling toward them, and the clone has to physically drag our girl to safety, screaming at her to get out of the way because those orbs have a consumption effect that's basically a one-way trip to non-existence. It dawns on them both that this Shadow Mage class isn't just strong, it's a terrifyingly efficient method for ending someone's life. The air crackles with shadow energy, and our girl clocks that the orbs have different attack patterns. The gap between a charged shot and an instant blast is the gap between a close call and a coffin. Fed up with being a sitting duck, she whips out her revolver and starts firing back, managing to connect with a couple of shots. But her hope shatters when she glances at the boss's health bar. It's still chilling at a totally disrespectful 85%. She's ticked off that 2 clean hits barely shaved off 15%. It's clear these things have a defense stat that is completely busted. The clone stays optimistic, telling her that chipping away at its health is still a W, and pitches a new game plan. The clone will be the agile decoy handling the acrobatics, while our girl becomes the dedicated damage dealer. It's a solid strategy, but our girl is stressing about her trash tier stats carrying over into this mental dimension. Her physical limits are the exact same as in the real world, and her pistol has that one majorly annoying drawback, where auto-reloading bullets drains her stamina faster than a Toxic X. She knows if her double runs out of steam, before they can eliminate the 3 main shadow bosses, they're both going to be fresh corpses. Meanwhile, Rohi is facing down a horde of shadows that are just cautiously circling him like a bunch of punks. He gets sick of their little dance and taunts them into making a move which triggers a fusion technique that combines their strength. Rohi lunges at them, shouting that running is useless, but even he is caught off guard when a colossal 3-fingered shadow hand snatches his blade right out of the air. He instantly recognizes this as the true form of that divine consciousness sliver, but he just scoffs at its laughably pathetic power level. He blasts it with a massive crimson slash, and in an instant, the demonic roars are replaced by the crackle of radio waves. It turns out, His brain is somehow deciphering an electromagnetic signal broadcast in a language that is 100% alien. Voices from the cosmic abyss call him an intelligent life form, begging him to continue the struggle. These are the psychic ghosts of civilizations that the evil gods have already consumed, and they drop a bombshell. The S-rank cards were actually their final, desperate gambit, a weapon created to give other worlds a fighting chance. They plead with him not to become a pawn in the destruction of his own home world, and it finally clicks for Rohi. These cards aren't just loot, they're the legacy of a galactic rebellion. He swears a silent oath to the fallen aliens that Earth will not be another statistic. It will be the graveyard of the gods. The divine consciousness completely dissolves, and a blue light envelops our hero as the mental world begins to kick him out. He's a foreign body in her mind after all, and his time is officially up. He glimpses the two girls standing over the gooey remains of the final shadow, and tells them they can handle the rest of the job, change themselves. He assures them he'll be waiting for them back in reality, but his fading presence sends the girls into a quiet panic. The same thought hits them both. Oh crap, he can't find out our secret. They immediately begin cooking up a perfect cover story so he won't get wise to what's actually going on with them once they return to the physical world. For now though, they get back to the grind and dive back into the chaos to rescue their parents. Rohi watches them fade, hoping our girl will become the ultimate ally in his war against the divine tyrants. Our hero materializes back in reality, where his mom is in the middle of a full-blown anxiety spiral. She's pacing back and forth, gripped by the grim realization that while her son has grown incredibly strong, the world outside has transformed into a living nightmare. The news is a 24/7 horror show of people slipping into unbreakable slumbers, while others just snap, exploding into mindless rage and attacking anyone in sight. She even whispers about these haunting nightmares, visions of grotesque hook-wielding monsters stalking them in the shadows. She looks completely defeated, like her soul is about to clock out for good from all the horror, but that's the exact moment our hero steps in. Our girl finally emerges from her dark metamorphosis and a system notification makes it official. Her class has been successfully upgraded to Shadow Mage Apprentice, a wicked A-rank designation pulsing with a powerful affinity for dark elements. She stares at her hands in utter disbelief, slowly processing the fact that her entire life skill tree just got a god-tier update. She gives our boy a grateful nod for his help in what she's convinced was just a fever dream, all while secretly plotting to keep her new powers on the down low. She's desperately hoping he doesn't realize she's now hiding a whole other dark and twisted personality. Just then, their friend crashes into the room, his eyes flooding with tears as he pleads with our boy to send him back to the stage they just conquered. King Chai is frantic, willing to do anything to save a girl named Xiao King, who sacrificed herself to save him, but our protagonist has to drop a heavy dose of reality on him. He explains that after a stage is cleared, it's permanently wiped from existence, making any kind of return impossible. Our hero has a flashback to his past life, remembering how his friend was forced to carry the crushing weight of this loss all alone. And while he had considered pulling his friend into his own stage to shield him from this fate, our boy knows he has no right to play God with another person's journey. He shows his friend the newsfeed displaying the worldwide coma pandemic, and that's when our girl steps in to clarify things. With the energy of someone spilling major tea, she explains that dying in the game doesn't actually mean you're dead, for real. It simply means your physical body is locked in a deep coma back in reality. In about 5 seconds, King Jai's entire demeanor flips, from crippling despair to white-hot determination. He's suddenly fired up, ready to join their crew and go to war with the divine puppet masters behind this entire cosmic train wreck. Our protagonist can't help but feel a genuine surge of happiness, seeing everyone burning with fighting spirit, a stark contrast to the soul-crushing hopelessness he remembers from the first timeline. But our hero has to be the one to point out that their friend is at the moment the weakest member of the team by a long shot. King Jai is chilling at level 4, which is essentially the XP you get just for making it through the tutorial. He was carried the entire time. The friend then asks our girl for her level, and while she tries to be humble and insist our boy did all the work, the system puts her on blast. She's already level 9. Not only that, she's rocking a strength stat of 15 and a legendary grade revolver. King Jai's eyes bulge when he connects the dots and realizes she could absolutely demolish him right now. Then he glances at our hero's stats, level 17, an agility score of 20, and a passive mental immunity buff. He finally gets it. Our boy is playing on an entirely different difficulty setting. The friend immediately crumples to the floor. He starts desperately hugging our protagonist's leg, begging to be power-leveled through the next stage like a VIP client. He's willing to do anything to protect the people he cares about in this world, and our boy looks down at him with a knowing smile. He knows that this shared desperate hope is the only superweapon capable of winning this war.